Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. This is umineko, when the seagulls cry. That's not it. You swore to me, saying I will become the successor to the Ushiromiya family. You. The one whispering to me was the me of my years as a young girl, born inside my heart on the day I made that oath. That's right. She was my only ally. When things got difficult, when I felt like I was about to get crushed by it all, she would always quietly appear and support me. When I ran into roadblocks and despaired, she would always appear and support me. When I grew up and the memories of my childhood years faded, I also started to forget my conversations with her. I, Ushiromiya Ava, will definitely become the head of the Ushiromiya family, and I'll triumph over that irritating, arrogant Kraus. On that day, we promised to do our best together to achieve that. That's right, we promised. On that day, I promised that I would become the successor to the Ushiromiya headship. On that day, when I had been overcome with sadness and wondering why I was even alive. You appeared from inside me and lent me your strength. Father didn't accept me. I wanted to teach Nissan a lesson. I believed that doing this would let me say goodbye to the wretched creature I once was. For a time, I truly believed that my life had no purpose other than to be looked down upon by Nissan. It's painful just remembering those days. They're a wound, a crack inside my heart. She taught me how to sew up that wound. I turned my anger into effort and improved myself, trying to become a person more worthy of the headship than Kraus was, trying to triumph over him by making Father accept me. It was my perfect revenge. I was vaguely aware that a woman couldn't possibly become the family head, but I thought that maybe if I could prove myself valuable enough to overturn that premise, then surely even Father would select me to be his successor. If that happened, then I'd be able to have the greatest and most perfect revenge against Nissan, who actually acted like his succession to the headship was completely inevitable. That's right. If we can manage this, the wounds in our heart will be healed. We promised each other to do our best until that day comes. And now you're saying you're gonna break that promise? Scum. Coward. If only you'd just give up and die. Even though she looked like me as a kid, she was still another me. Her tongue was sharp because it was mine. Also, probably because it's a fucking goat person, disguised as you by magic. It makes me pretty mad hearing that, even from myself. You have no right to speak of me like that. Then let's use that anger to fuel our learning. Changing anger into power is my magic. I've saved you from a bunch of tight spots with that power, letting you succeed when you shouldn't have. As long as you have my magic, there's nothing you can't do. That's right. Anger has always been my driving force. I wonder when it was I forgot that. If you can remember me again, that magic will become ours once more.
So is this Beatrice just, like, speaking to people? Like, as if they have, like, freaking schizophrenia? Like, just, you now have an hallucination!
Come on, let's turn that anger into power and study even harder. I know we've still got a lot to learn. Let's go to college, study more and more, get excellent grades, and drive Kraus into a corner. That guy acts like we're nothing, but I'm sure he feels pretty well cornered in the inside. If only he'd just learn his place and die. If he did, we could become the head. Rudolph won't take the job. That kid can't go against us. Stop that. No matter how much more I study, Father still won't accept me. Why not? Father told me to be womanly. Because I'm a woman, no matter how hard I tried, Father wouldn't have passed the headship onto me, even if I had been born before Nissan. No matter how much effort I put in, I can't become anything more than a woman. I won't be acknowledged. Nissan doesn't try at all, but I can't surpass him. He'll look down on me forever. Father and Kraus are the worst kind of male supremacists. If only they'd just die. She cursed them for my sake. Words that I couldn't say so easily, she said for me. Even though I understand that she's just another part of myself inside of me.
Okay, honestly, if it wasn't for, like, the magic shit going on, Ava, 1, I agree completely. Kinzo and Kraus are assholes. 2, if you're in this situation and you're talking to another version of yourself like this, you need medical help. Like, it's like there is some mental health issue that has occurred. Or 3, the reality of this game, there is some psychotic witch who is using magic and talking to you with illusions to make them look like you. So they think that you are just talking to you, but it's really them. I don't know, option 4. The government's using radio waves from satellites to fuck with you. I don't know.
I feel like she's the only ally I have who can sympathize with me. However, while sympathy might do a lot to calm my heart, it won't do anything to improve my current situation. In the end, she can only console me for however long it takes me to be dejected by reality before I finally accept it. Thank you. You've done enough. Now that it's come to this, I'll become such a good lady that it'll shock even Father. I'll find an excellent man that Nissan can't even compare to. You can't do that. She rejected my timid thoughts. I understand, because she is me, I understand. All Father said was that he wanted a woman to succeed the headship now. But even that's just a rule Father made up. Since he made it, he can get rid of it. Human feelings can change far more often than the number of sand grains on a beach. Kraus is such a stupid man that Father's eventually going to realize it, even if we don't prove it for him. When that happens, the wall that separates man from woman will be demolished by Father himself, who set it up in the first place. That day will surely come. How can you be so sure? Because that's my magic. If you just believe, this magic will surely summon a miracle. The basis of my magic is nothing more than your believing heart. If I use this magic, then surely I'll never have to doubt until the day I die that I'll eventually become the head. But I don't know if that's the right thing for Ushiromiya Eva. Maybe I should aim to become the kind of lady father wants, someone who can proudly participate in high society.
I mean, why can't you do both? I mean, honestly, just do whatever makes you happy, Ava. But then, I'm just saying this, there's no reason you can't do both. So, if doing both would make you the most happy, then do what makes you the most happy.
And if I'm reborn, maybe Father will change his opinion of me. Maybe I can find my own lifestyle, just as Nissan has found his. And anyway, I can't imagine my stubborn father choosing a woman like me as the head. If I remember right from episode 1, Kenzo's main criticism of Kraus is that he felt he was incompetent and tended to lose money. His criticism of Ava that he was giving in episode 1 was purely that he felt Ava was very greedy and only cared about money and status. Rudolph he criticized for being a womanizer. And Rosa, he didn't approve of whatever guy she got with. I don't remember the issue with George. I remember he said Maria, he felt she was depraved and degenerate. And I can't remember the thing about Jessica either. And he apparently took personal offense to Battler being upset at his dad for being a womanizer. So you were literally upset at your grandson for being upset at the same thing you're upset at his father, your son. So that seems kind of odd. Especially if it means skipping over Kraus. You don't believe? I was just thinking. Maybe I can't succeed the headship, but as a woman I can have a child. And Nissan still isn't engaged. If Nissan isn't able to father a child and I gave birth to one, then wouldn't that make my child the next head after Nissan? In other words, wouldn't that mean the same thing as stealing the headship from Nissan? Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. True, it'll be very sad to abandon the resolve I've had since childhood. It pains my heart to betray you, my younger self, but this is my most realistic option. Are you throwing away your dreams? And me as well? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm an adult, and the day has come for me to part ways with you. That's right, Ava's already become an adult. She's even forgotten how to use magic, and now she's the mother of a single child. She forgot all about how magic can grant one's own dreams, and now she's forcing those dreams onto her son. Even though her father and Kraus ruined your life, you're trying to push your dreams onto your son, ruining his life. Is that what you call being an adult? To George is a son I'm proud of, one who won't embarrass himself no matter where he goes. The dream I wasn't granted might come true for George. Jessica's a delinquent in both her grades and her behavior, and she's a woman. If only Jessica would step down, George would become the heir.
Okay, this seems kind of hypocritical on multiple parts, Ava. Like, one, you're kind of a jerk to your child, and two, you're actually, everything you criticize Kenzo and Kraus for, you're now pushing on to Jessica for your own benefit. Like, so it's like, you're against it, unless it suits you in some way. And we didn't even discuss Battler. Has everyone just forgot Battler exists?
Even saying it was painful. Am I just forcing my own regrets onto George? It's not like I have any right to look on Jessica with scorn. Wasn't I just horrible for hitting her with the same words that I'd caused me so much suffering?
Okay, that's... I mean, you are having an inner monologue, and, you know, self-reflection is really good. I do a bunch of it.
I understand. The desire to triumph over my brother is part of my own personal revenge. I can't use George for that. So I'll take the revenge myself. I have a plan to cheat Nissan out of some of his money with Rudolph and Rosa as my allies. I'll surely be able to get back at him.
Is all of this just a flashback in your head, Ava, when you're inside, the boat?
In any case, I'm sure that Nissan is embezzling father's assets.
So this is a flashback / you're having a subconscious dream talk with the psychotic witch who murders people and eats human flesh in your head in a boat about the Rose Garden. Okay.
What a boring plan. Why don't you just give up on that and cry yourself to sleep? We will become the Ushiromiya family head. Don't mistake what your dream is, and believe me when I say it'll definitely come true. Believe in my magic. If I believe, I wonder if any power will dwell in that magic. It will. My magic can grant any wish with certainty.
Okay, in the previous end of episode, after, force-feeding and pipe-bombing Ava to death, you then resurrected her multiple times to tear her tongue out and then torture her to death and then resurrect her and cut her tongue out again. And then you took the multiple tongues and you made them into a salad and you fed them to her younger sister, Rosa, who was strapped to a chair. I feel like Hannibal Lecter and Pinhead from Hellraiser would all be like, what the fuck?
It will. My magic can grant any wish with certainty.
Wait, are you Lambda Delta? Are you changing the fucking timeline in people's memories in order to change the... And then everyone's going to have all these timelines jumbled together head. Everyone's going to have a mental breakdown.
I'll believe. I'll believe, so create a miracle with that magic. If you don't, the hole in my heart will never heal. Okay? Then listen well. Listen to my magic words and understand. If we can solve the riddle, we can become the Ushiromiya family head. So lend me your ears and listen carefully. Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the golden land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. Drink some Gatorade. Good Gatorade. It's orange.
Ava Nissan. Also, I feel obligated to say it every time. Kairi, extremely beautiful, great personality, intelligent, awesome. Also, looks nice in the clothes. That also look awesome. Okay.
It looks like we're about to arrive. When Kairi shook her shoulders, Ava jumped and awoke from her doze.
Everyone in this game looks so sleepy. Am I in Ushiromiya? Wait, I'm too poor for that.
I'm sorry, I was half asleep. Sorry to scare you. Aunt Ava, you were out cold. Did you get up early this morning? Maybe. I let you all see something embarrassing. I'm sorry. Well, I'd say it's pretty impressive you were relaxed enough to sleep. Battler kept yelling, "We're gonna fall! We're gonna drown!" Can't be bored with this guy around.
Just shut up. All humans have at least one thing they're weak against.
Battler and Jessica came in, messing around. Rudolph also made a face as if asking, "Are you okay?" Get a hold of yourself. When you see Dad and the rest, all that sleepiness will go right out the window. Let's all give it our best, okay? That's right. We have to keep it together since Red Bull hasn't been invented yet. Especially this year. That's it. Let's all tighten our assholes and go. Rudolph said these strict words in a small voice only Ava could hear. Failure would not be tolerated in this year's family conference. All of their companies were hanging in the balance. Even Rudolph's face looked a little tense. Ava's expression probably looked tense as well.
Mom, I have our luggage. Let's go up onto the deck. Thank you. You really are considerate, George. Why are you thanking me so suddenly? It's not like you, Mother. It's not like you, Mother. Ava, George, we're there. Grab our luggage. Ooh, we're there. Giggle. Hey, Maria, stop running or you'll trip. It seemed Maria was already getting excited. She ran in circles around Hideyoshi, escaping from Rosa, who was trying to catch her. What is it, Mother? Do you feel sick? George, take our luggage and go on ahead. Your mother's probably feeling anemic, so I'll lend her a hand. Like, actually anemic? Like, would like a jerky stick help? Or like a Pepsi? Would Pepsi and some red meat help with that? Really? Okay, I'll head out first. Something odd in Ava's expression told Hideyoshi that it hadn't been a pleasant awakening, so he made George go on ahead. Rudolph's family and Rosa's family also went up onto the deck, leaving only Ava and Hideyoshi inside the boat. Ava had a vague expression on her face, as though she still hadn't been able to escape from her daydream. Ellipses. What's wrong? Why the meek face? I wonder if I'm using George as a tool for my own revenge. I wonder if my childish hostility towards Nissan has caused me to treat that child's life like a toy. Ah, what have I done? What have I... Honestly, the fact that you're thinking about that is at least proof that you do love your child. So that's really good that you're actually caring about his well-being above all else. So yay! That isn't true. George is our wonderful son, and he'll always perform admirably wherever he goes. Ava, even if you let your own hopes get in the way a bit, everything turned out okay in the end, hasn't it? You haven't done anything wrong. In fact, George is grateful for the strict discipline you gave him, right? Really? Hey, really? George doesn't think I'm a terrible mother, does he? Does he? He's never said anything like that, not even once. You're just worrying too much. Hideyoshi-sama, everyone has left the boat. Oh, did you lose something? Did you need a hand? Kumasao had come to check on them, and when they hadn't gone up to the deck, Hideyoshi hit Ava behind his back so that her expression wouldn't be seen. Yeah, sorry, my necktie pin just got a bit crooked. We're fine, and we'll be out in a sec. Wait outside for us. Is that so? Oh, then I will wait outside. Even though she didn't really understand, Kumasao realized that something had come up and disappeared so that she didn't trouble them further. If they stayed here any longer, they would probably make everyone else worry too. It's about time to go. We'll make George and the rest worry. George really doesn't despise me? Yeah, nothing of the sort. In fact, he's very grateful. Did you have a nightmare? Again? Silence. Yes. Hideyoshi knew that Ava was often tormented by nightmares, and they always grew more marked on the days leading up to the family conference. Usually that's a sign of trauma. Just saying. Hideyoshi knew that Ava's relationship with Kraus was still full of antagonism to the point of being traumatic, and that she still couldn't let go of the feelings she had as a child. That was a dream. I'm with you now. If I grasp your hand like this, that dream will go away forever, right? Look, I'm holding tight. Giggle. That hurts. Thank you. I'm fine now. Let's get off the boat. Yeah, let's get off the boat. Everyone's waiting for us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I yelled at you about the smoke from your cigarettes just now.
Come on, you normally wouldn't apologize for that sort of thing. You're all frail after having that dream. Don't worry about it. I was wrong for not realizing that the smoke was affecting you. Have you started to hate me? No way, no way! If I hated you after something like that, we wouldn't have lasted 3 days. Come on, stand up, stand up. Let's get off the boat. Hideyoshi-sama, Eva-sama, is everything alright? Didn't Kumasawa... How long did that? It's been like 30 seconds. Are you not feeling well? This time it was Goda. It looked like they'd kept everyone waiting too long after all. Even Ava had to stand up without grumbling now. She had to stop forcing her bad mood onto her husband and causing him any more trouble, because that wasn't something a good wife would do. Is everything okay? How fucking tall are you, Goda? If it's a matter of concerning your health, shall I call Dr. Nanjo? Thanks, but I'm just feeling a little anemic. I'm fine now. It's a woman's disease. Don't worry about it. I mean, technically, women do tend to have anemia more often because anemia tends to be a condition of the blood, and especially not having enough iron in your blood. And the reason why women tend to have more issues is that because they have periods. So, I mean, how could you not have additional health issues if you lose blood from time to time? You need blood. It's not like, it's not like you just pick up extra things of blood at Walmart, like, okay, I'd like a 12-pack ice cold Pepsi and 1 vampire pack. I'm just saying, blood loss, not healthy. Like, obviously you're going to lose a lot of iron in your blood. That being said, there are people that are just naturally anemic. Their body just doesn't seem to synthesize the chemicals they need correctly. And of course, there are some people that actually have issues with the actual red blood cells. A lot of it can be fixed for most people with proper nutrition and rest, but then there's other people that actually do need proper medicine from doctors. But at that point, we're talking like sickle cell anemia and stuff like that. But I guess the main point is, whoever you are out there, whatever your body's going through, you know your body better than other people. So if you're like, I might need to drink more milk or eat something like build stronger bones. I don't know. Like you feel like your bones aren't strong enough. Drink more milk. Feel like you're anemic? I guess sleep more and eat more red meat. Also probably see a doctor about anything. Come on, don't say stuff like that in front of people. It's embarrassing. Oh, sorry. Is it? I guess saying it like that might be implying that she's on her period to them, and that'd probably be very embarrassing, if true. Probably be embarrassing even if it's not that time of month. Because usually when it comes to any kind of health condition, people tend to prefer to be more private about that stuff. Ava elbowed Hideyoshi in the gut. By that time, her normal expression had returned, which allowed Hideyoshi to relax a little. The bright sunlight outside almost made her dizzy. A small plank for getting off the boat was lowered, and Goto was waiting there, smiling and ready to lend them a hand. Please, Ava-sama, your hand. Thank you. Welcome to Rockanjima. Welcome back. Island of the Witch. Please make it back in one... I wanted to read that. Please make it back in one piece and or enjoy your stay. Welcome back. Huh? When she left the boat, it seemed to Ava as though she heard the voice of her young self. No, it hadn't seemed that way. Someone had told her, welcome back. After becoming a shameless adult, the voice of her young self was distant. What am I living for? What can I do to release myself from this obsession? Hideyoshi heard her talking to herself. When Hideyoshi held on tightly to Eva's shoulders, her firmness alone told her that there was no need to say any more. Maybe it was because the typhoon was getting closer. The lively cries of the seagulls, which usually greeted them when they arrived, couldn't be heard at all.
Why did that cloud look like an orca?
What? You mean 6 years ago? I mean, I was still in elementary school back then, right? It's pretty unfair to expect me to remember everything, don't you think? True. Especially because we were so young. We've grown a lot in these 6 years. If I hadn't been introduced, I might not even have remembered you. Really? I figured he was Battler right away, and when he opened his mouth, I was sure. Ooh, I just met him for the first time. Didn't know him 6 years ago. That's right. Maria-san was only 3 years old then. Well, then the same goes for me. I only knew Maria when she was 3 years old, and since she's grown so big, of course I wouldn't recognize her. After lunch, we had all gone out to the beach to walk around and talk and take it easy. Our parents were apparently having a suspicious, complicated discussion, so we ended up leaving them behind. Well, just as I'd guessed from the start, the conversation focused on me, since I'd been away for 6 years. Still, you really have gotten tall. I wouldn't call myself short, but your height really surprised me. That's right, I remember well that Battler Summer was like 6 years ago, but I was surprised even so. Yeah, seriously, I can hardly believe this is the same Battler we knew back then. I'm surprised how much everyone remembers about it. My memory's all hazy. Yeah, I'll bet. Looks like it's taking you a while to remember us. You know, that hurts a bit. Come on, this was 6 years ago, right? I'm the one who has it bad being forced to remember. Are you saying that you can't remember well because it was 6 years ago? I can remember it as clearly as if it happened yesterday. Well, your memory is great after all. You remember the kind of things Battler did and said back then pretty clearly, don't you? Come to think of it, that's right. Shannon's memory can be incredible when you'd least expect it. Ooh, I'm horrible at remembering. I remember fun things, but can't remember boring things at all. Ooh. We all laughed, saying that everyone was like that. Shannon? By the way, what was Battler like 6 years ago? Remembering interesting episodes? Let's see. I'm sure that he said something like this when he left. I'll be back. See you again. I should come for you riding over a white horse. Yeah, stop. It's so embarrassing. Yeah. Sounds just like something you'd say. Yeah, I remember you always used to be full of those stupid lines, Battler. It really does sound like something Battler-kun would have said back then. Ooh, embarrassing? Is that embarrassing? Yeah. Horribly embarrassing. Maria, I'm sure that when you're in middle school, you'll want to say embarrassing stuff like that. When that happens, make sure you write it down and read it 3 times before saying it out loud. If you don't, you'll definitely regret it. Still, everyone has to pass through that pitiful period. That's right. That's how you learn your place, learn shame, and become an adult. Yeah, it's one of those bittersweet things everyone does in adolescence. As they transition to becoming adults, a memory you just want to forget. Argerwower. After all, this was all stuff I'd let slip out without thinking, so I didn't remember the words exactly, but now that those words were being recited to me, they were as embarrassing as all hell. I only recently came to understand this weakness and was working hard to avoid such careless outbursts, but I guess I was just born with the habit of speaking without thinking, and there's nothing I can do about it. Shannon, do you remember any other embarrassing stuff? Yes, well, I remember a few other things, but since it looks like the person in question wants to forget them, I think I'll refrain from saying any more. To be brutally honest, I don't remember this at all. Please don't make me remember. Ooh, Shannon's bullying Battler? Ooh, you can't. You shouldn't bully people. She isn't really bullying him. Let's leave it at that, okay? But Shannon, you'll have to tell me all about it sometime Battler isn't around. It sounds pretty interesting. Yes, certainly. No, you can't, Shannon. For a while, George and Nikki laughed at me as though warming up for when Shannon would tell him about more of my embarrassing misspeaks. George looked like he was flirting with Shannon, but he seemed somewhat open and frank about it. He was always that way with his cousins, but he usually took on a reserved, gentlemanly attitude when he came in contact with the servants. When I thought about it, I got the feeling he was being a bit overly friendly, which seemed strange. Maria started scribbling on the stand with a stick, and George, Nikki, and Shannon joined in. This left me and Jessica off to the side, so I asked her secretively, "Hey, Jessica, is George and Nikki, going out with Shannon? Oh, what the? How'd you guess? Battler, you've got a keener eye for people than I thought." Huh? What? I like the expression that both of them are making. I was kidding, but they're actually going out. Shh! Your voice is too loud. It looks like they're keeping it a secret for now, okay? It'd be better if nobody found out about it, especially on Ava. I see. Love with a servant, huh? Yeah, but since when? Whoa, I guess a lot can happen in 6 years. But yeah, Nikki's an amazing person, and Shannon seems to be kind and brave, so they might make a pretty good match. Actually, 6 years ago, I remember taking notice of her just a little bit. I see, she really fits well with George, Nikki. Nothing I can do about that. Goodbye, my fleeting first love of 6 years ago. Which means that the collection of embarrassing lines Shannon had just held back on probably had something to do with that. I can't take it. How long have they been going out? That depends on what you call going out, but I think it's been at least a year. But if you count the time they've both had one-sided feelings, it'd probably be several years. Before I'd realized it, the two of them had separated themselves from the group and were walking down the beach, talking about something. They looked calm, and rather than a light relationship between two lovers, it looked like a more serious one, as though they were already engaged. 6 years ago, huh? That's a long time. What did those 6 years mean to me? I've just gotten taller. It was just a waste of time. 6 years I spent obstinately fighting with my dad. What about you, Battler? You got a girlfriend? I wonder. There's a few girls that I have fun with, but there's no only one. I guess I'm just a kid. I think it's more fun to be noisy with a large group of people than being alone with one person. Ah, that's so you, Battler. But take your relationships with your female friends seriously. When girls get the wrong impressions or form a group, it can be scary, you know. They might be having secret feuds over you behind your back, with people getting hurt or crying. That's so weird. I think I remember getting the same bit of advice from one of the girls in my class just last week. What's this all about? Why can't everyone just have fun together? Do people really want to couple up that much? It's probably because you've never found a partner like that, Battler. Well, you might run into someone sooner or later. You've just got to wait patiently. What? It almost sounds like you've already found a partner like that. What about you? Have you gotten a boyfriend? Huh? Me? No,
come on, that reaction's so easy to understand. From looks of it, there's some boy you were thinking about, but you haven't been able to confess to him yet. Something like that. No, I'm not. That's not. Shut up. Who cares about that? If you're the one who brought up this subject, why are you yelling at me now? Women are creatures who always ask questions and yet almost never answer them. What cruel creatures, seriously. Well, I did try to confess once. Well, I struck out pretty badly. Did you get an I'm sorry? No, my feelings were seriously one-sided, and they didn't really know how to respond, I guess. It was like they didn't view me that way at all. Well, I can understand that. You talk like a man after all. If you don't act a bit more graceful, you won't be able to catch a boy's interest. Is the way I speak really that bad? Well, how you talk isn't everything. But when people like you, who usually have a rough style of speech, suddenly start working hard to talk more normally, well, there are guys out there whose heart will skip a beat when they see how determined you are. Well, my main thing about that is, I think, again, people of any gender or sexual orientation like people who are caring and affectionate, and when it comes to speaking thing, it's the fact that you're putting in effort. And by that I mean it's you care. The fact is you care how you talk to the person, and you care about their feelings. I think everyone agrees. Probably the best thing would be someone who actually cares about your feelings. I see. Yeah. Jessica suddenly started talking more meekly, and then her face instantly went slightly red. I see. Even though her confession didn't go well, it looks like she still hasn't given up. But still, I get it. After seeing how close George and Nikki and the Chan have gotten, I also kind of want to find a girlfriend. 6 years. 6 years of puberty are pretty important, and they went by pretty fast. As the typhoon approached, the clouds grew steadily grayer, but even so, I had this really refreshing feeling. Maybe I'll try thinking more seriously about the opposite sex, more than just the size of their boobs. Boobs! By the way, it looks like George and Nikki's going out with a servant. Don't tell me it's the same for you. Huh? What? Why do you think that? Come to think of it, that kid Cannon-kun who greeted us in the rose garden, you were covering for him pretty intensely, considering he was just a little awkward at talking. And no, that's not... Why, now you're getting paranoid. Then tell me just one thing, right now. Is the boy you're after within 1 kilometer? You guys say kilometer or kilometer? Of this spot? Well, about that, I wonder. Cannon-kun was the only boy on this island now who could possibly become her boyfriend. So judging by her reaction, I was right on. I didn't think of the Ushiromiya family as a noble family, but love with a servant. I wouldn't have dreamed that 2 pairs of Romeo and Juliet would be right next to me. Aunt Ava would probably become an obstacle to George, Nikki, and Shannon-chan's love. If Aunt Ava ever learned that Shannon-chan was the partner of her only beloved son, she'd probably scream at her for trying to steal away her precious George. And a relationship between Jessica and Cannon-kun would probably be just as full of difficulties. Aunt Natsui was also very strict about that kind of thing. After all, Jessica's husband would probably become the head of the Ushiromiya family in the future. If that person had once been a servant working for the family, well, things would get complicated. Well, love is different for every person. As long as you're with someone who's fun to be around, does anything else matter? When 2 people pair up, they don't need anyone's permission, as long as they accept each other. I think a wise person once said, you just sort of like who you like. So, at the end of the day, whoever you're in a relationship with, all that matters is you're both happy and you both are, nice and kind to each other and actually care about each other's feelings, and neither person would ever hurt the other person. Worrying about what your parents or family will say means you've already lost. Don't forget that. You'd better not go out with someone with mixed feelings. Tish, I can't believe you're saying something so philosophical sounding when you haven't even been in love. Don't treat love like a matter of profit and loss. I didn't even have my first kiss until I was already of American drinking age. Then again, every relationship I ever went in went horribly wrong. Then again, I don't regret any of those relationships. Heck, especially out of my marriage, I had a son. I loved my son very much. Happiest day of my life was the day my child was born. It's about heart. That's all I have to say. Well then, see you again. Have a nice day. Piff. Wow. George Nissan Shannon, listen. This guy, he said he's another one of those lines. I didn't say anything. What? Don't make fun of me. Ooh, I heard it. See you again. For a while, we forgot that the wind was getting stronger and played around on the beach. I grew a lot these past 6 years, and being able to celebrate my youth and meet with all of my cousins was truly refreshing. It was a bit late now, but I realized that I should have gotten back together with everyone a lot sooner and returned to the Ushiromiya family. It sure is nice to have all the cousins together every once in a while. Ooh, I like it too. It's really fun when all the cousins get together. That's right. We're already old enough. It's not like we couldn't meet each other when our parents aren't around. It might not be a bad idea to gather cousins together and play every once in a while. You know what? Like, everyone's an only child in this situation, at least when it comes to the main parts of the family. Imagine if, like all four of the, Kraus, Ava, Rudolph, and Rosa all had, 8 children. How fucking chaotic this would be. So many fucking people. I would never remember all these characters. That's a good plan. Maybe we should set up something like that the next time we get a chance. Yeah, I agree. I hope we cousins can stay friends forever. Hey, if you make such a big deal of it, you almost make it sound like the relatives usually end up hating each other. Ha 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 ha. George, Nikki, and Jessica laughed, but it felt just a little strained. Did I say something wrong? Judging by how our parents made quiet expressions and tired faces every once in a while during the boat ride at the airport, I should have kept that to myself. You're right. It's just like Jessica said. As I burp into the microphone. Let's always be friends to each other. Ooh, me too. We're all friends. That's right. Yeah. We'll always be together. We'll always be friends. Man, we've been saying some pretty embarrassing stuff. I feel kind of awkward. But I think it's very important. People are creatures who find it very hard to stay together, much less remain friends, unless they truly desire it. That's right. You really can't take everyone being friendly for granted. Ooh, a witch. I know, I said it. Happiness won't be granted unless everyone believes in it. That's true. Maybe some magic exists in the power of belief. If we all believe in that, I'm sure it will bring us happiness. All right. Well, if we're doing embarrassing stuff already, let's all swear to believe in this together, okay? That we'll all always be friendly, and that we'll always be happy. Like hell, we'll end up like our parents, as if we'd ever search for each other's weaknesses, going after grandfather's fortune. Okay, we'll always be friendly and happy. Let's all believe in that. No matter how much we cousins try to nostalgically have fun, dark clouds continue to approach Rokkenjima. Rokkenjima! I wonder if the typhoon will pass and let us see the clear skies before we leave this island. Who cares about what our parents are planning? Who cares about the inheritance and the honor of our old family? As youthful as we were renewing our old friendship, and we all believed together that we could find happiness. That's why I want this pair of days to end without anything weird happening, in peace and happiness and calmly. No, I don't just want them to end. Please let them end. Let them end. Kia! Oh God, Hannibal Lecter, Pinhead, Freddy Krueger showed up. Damn it. Don't show up, don't appear. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Sorry to keep you waiting. I have finally prepared a new game. Come, let us begin this tale of tragedy. Come to me, winds, rain, typhoon. Cut this island off from the real world. Throw Rock and Jima into another realm, into the spirit world, into a world of fantasy. And so the tale repeated for the third time, however to an endless cunt. What did it matter whether it was the first, second, or third time? It probably didn't matter at all. After all, this was a tale of fantasy, endlessly repeating until the match was settled. Would Battler surrender first, or would the bitch? Then the sky grew dark and cloudy, and the rain and the wind were summoned together and became a typhoon. Maria could be seen in the rose garden, paying no mind to the rain that had started falling, going around circles searching for that single rose that should have been marked. Not here, not here. My rose that we marked isn't here. Ooh, ooh. Maria definitely remembered it. That rose had been in the flower bed right here, and yet it wasn't anymore. She didn't know what to do with her irritation at not being able to find something that should have been there, and, moaning bitterly, she couldn't help but keep going back and forth in circles around the same spot. She was acting almost as though she'd been able to see it if she looked at a different angle. I think the best way for me to handle this situation would be like, Maria, I have a solution. I'll find it. I'll try my best. That being said, I want you to say something to Cannon and to Shannon when you get inside. Tell them to bring me a couple flashlights. I'm going to stay out here and look. And Rose will be like, you don't need to do like, that's fine, I don't mind. I actually would like a little more fresh air. So I'll keep looking. And I'd like, and Rose would be like, no, you should. And I'd lean in close to Rose, like, Rosa, it's okay. It's more important that we get Maria inside so she doesn't get sick. I'm an adult. I'm older. I can deal with a little rain. And if I'm lucky, I'll actually find the rose pretty quickly. And if not, then at least she'll be inside and she won't get sick. So go on and take the tiny person inside before they catch a cold. If she looked at a different angle, but even though she did that, there was no way to find something that wasn't there. Beatrice, where did you put it? The wind grew increasingly strong, and the rain turned into the cold, large drops. There was no way even Maria would fail to notice this. However, if she couldn't find a rose here, it would surely disappear forever. Maria believed that. That feeling spurred her on to keep searching for a rose that she had no chance of finding. Just then, the cold drops of rain tormenting Maria was suddenly blocked. Ooh? Maria raised her head. When she did, she saw an umbrella there protecting her from the rain, and the one holding that umbrella was the witch she admired, Beatrice. Beatrice! What are you doing so frantically in the middle of this rain? You could catch a cold like this. Even bitches have to care for their own health. I can't find my rose. Ooh. No matter how many times I search, even though it should have been here, I can't find it. Maria told Beatrice about how there had been a slightly unhealthy, pitiful rose, and that she was sure they had marked it. Ho ho, so you can't find it? If you are a bitch's apprentice, you should use magic to search for the rose. I believe that searching with just your eyes won't be nearly enough. Ooh? I can't find it. I did my best, and I tried to search with magic, but I can't find it. I think practicing your magic is a very good thing, but it might be a little too much for you with all this wind and rain. Allow me to lend you some special power. But you're the one who made all the wind and rain. What are you, the fucking government? Hey, we introduced a problem. Just And now we're going to give you a solution to the problem we made.
Concern for one's disciples is one of the teacher's duties. Thank you, Beatrice. Maria's face, which had been full of sadness until just now, split open into a grin. Maria knew. She knew that there was nothing Beatrice's magic couldn't do, so she was sure that Beatrice would be able to find the rose easily, even though Maria couldn't. Beatrice closed her eyes lightly, acting as though she was listening for something in all this wind and rain. Then she heard it, opened her eyes, and spoke. All the things in this world are transitory. Too bad, Maria. It seems your rose couldn't withstand all of this wind and rain. Ooh? Then my rose... It was uprooted by the wind and is no longer of this world. Ooh. What Beatrice had said was quite reasonable. There was nothing odd about the flower being broken off at the stem in this strong wind. However, Maria couldn't accept this and bitterly gave a low-pitched moan. No. Oh? No. It's my rose. My rose won't come back. No. I'll bring it back to life with my magic. Beatrice, teach me how to revive a rose with magic. Ha! It's much too early for an apprentice like you to learn the hidden art of endless magic. Know your place. Oh, Maria wiped the tears from her eyes, full of regret. Beatrice shrugged her shoulders and chuckled at Maria's pitiable expression. Very well, I will lend you my power, the hidden art that can revive a rose. Really? Indeed. Well then, concentrate the power of your heart. Close your eyes, forget the rain, forget the wind, and search for the soul of the wandering rose with the eyes of your heart.
I have a question, Beatrice. If Maria has more natural talent than you and all of a sudden does this attack, this power, easily, will you be jealous? Will you feel insecure? Will you be scared of her? I mean, at least Master Roshi took it pretty well when Goku did a Kamehameha on the fucking spot. But I feel like you might not be as good-natured as a Master Roshi. Then again, Master Roshi can't fly because at one point he had dragon wings. If you look at like Toriyama's work, there's an earlier work. But yeah. So at one point, like Master Roshi had wings, actual physical wings. Because if you look in the anime of Dragon Ball Z, you see the bandages on his shoulder blades anytime he takes his...
Maria closed her eyes. Then she repeated Beatrice's song-like words. Come, try to remember, Rose, what form did you have? Come, try to remember, Rose, what form did you have? Don't look, don't listen, and believe. What is this? Is it like the fucking... Like, this reminds me of Gohan when he trained Videl how to fly. Release the power of your soul from the cage of flesh that imprisons it. That's it. Good. Around Maria, who was concentrating her power, her eyes tightly shut, small golden butterflies began to dance. Was this the manifestation of the magical power Maria held? Lost soul of the rose, gather into one and remember your form. Come, gather, remember. The glitter of the gold butterflies began to strengthen and their numbers increased. Then Beatrice raised a finger up to the skies and they began to gather at the tip of that finger. This was the miracle of the golden magic. The gold butterflies began to condense into a single, dazzling grain of gold. It was a single, glittering gold seed. It rode It rode on the tip of Beatrice's finger, budded into a golden sprout, and opened into a golden leaf. It then slowly fell from that fingertip, sank into the mud of the flower bed, and began to grow steadily. Maria, who had admired magic and the witch, really wanted to see this fantastical sight. However, as an apprentice, Maria was still not qualified to see it. No, she was probably afraid that if she opened her eyes to look, the power that she had concentrated in her heart would be cut off, and the magic would be lost. Therefore, Beatrice, as the only one permitted to witness this golden miracle, was the only bitch, the sole master of many miracles. Then the fully grown rose bloomed. Creating one golden flower. And when Beatrice poked it with her finger in just the right way, the gold-colored sparkle scattered, just as if a golden soap bubble had popped, and what remained was a single beautiful rose. It looks like you've remembered a splendid rose. However, if we just leave it mixed in with these other roses, you won't be able to tell it apart. Shall I perform one last service? Beatrice, for the sake of her cute apprentice, who was moaning even more now in concentration, decided to use one more bit of magic. When she snapped her fingers, a single gold butterfly appeared, fluttered around, and landed on the flower that had just been revived. Then it suddenly burst open and disappeared, becoming golden lace and marking that rose. That will do. Maria, you may open your eyes now. Ooh, where's the rose? It's not here. Not here. Not over there, over here. Look, I've marked it with golden lace. Wow, you did. Awesome, 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 awesome. Thank you, Beato. Thank you, Beato. I want to become a witch. Quickly, a great bitch like you. And you can. Long ago, I too wished for that innocently, just as you do, and I have attained that level. Again, Light Yagami's dad, Death Mark. The Death Note's a curse. It's kind of changed you into kind of a terrible, terrible person. Maria was ecstatic over the revived rose, clapping her hands and jumping around in joy. Then again, one could also say Light Yagami had quite the change of personality from the beginning to the end of the series. Heck, what about Walter White in the Breaking Bad show? By the end of the show, he really was a very different person. Watching that, Beatrice also smiled, looking fairly pleased. By now I can break and repair any soul if I try, not just that of the rose, and kill and revive as I please. Come, the barrier of the storm has now sealed Rock and Jima off from the natural world. Now is the time for the golden bitch, Beatrice, to descend as the endless cunt. Beatrice pulled from her pocket an envelope with the family crest, the one-winged eagle. You guys say winged or winged? Eagle, and gave it to Maria. Maria frolicked around it, being selected to be the witch's messenger. So, Kinzo, I've come to join in on the fun once more. My preparation's already complete. What of you? How have you prepared enough coins to bet in tonight's game? Of course, I'm fully prepared, Beatrice. I've assembled a plethora of pieces. Did you actually physically hear that, man? I'm ready both physically and mentally. So then let us make the ante. All that you have given should be returned to you in the end. Come, take it. Kinzo flung the window of his study open, took off the valuable golden ring that had been on his finger, and threw it into the darkness of the raging wind and rain. Okay, is Beatrice just gonna be collecting these like the fucking Hypercube horror movie? Or like it's like I have a watch. It's like, oh, but that's so-and-so's watch. Yes, but I've killed him 20 times in different timelines and just keep stealing his watch over and over. And threw it in the darkness of the raging wind and rain. That ring was struck by lightning, and after twinkling gold for an instant, disappeared. Kinzo watched it go, glowing broadly and fearlessly. I don't think I'll lose. You are mine forever.
You were eaten by Five Nights at Freddy's last game. You were screaming in pain. The one before that, you were lit on fire.
The ring that Kinzo had thrown became a single gold butterfly and fluttered around in the wind and rain. It headed for the rose garden almost as though it was being guided there. It then found the figure of the golden witch and fluttered down. When it came down right in front of Beatrice, it burst open and returned to its original form, flying through the air. The way it was going, you would have expected it to fall into a puddle, but it stopped suddenly in midair. Almost as if it was a transparent person had caught it. Apparently even Beatrice hadn't expected this. However, she realized who it was, and grinned broadly at it.
Hello? Okay?
As she did, the shadow of the person who had caught the ring began to fuzzily appear.
Okay. This is odd.
It was the figure of a young man wearing a butler's uniform embroidered with the one-winged eagle crest. There was no man like this among the servants of the Ushiromiya family. Even so, Beatrice laughed as though it was someone she remembered fondly. Renove, is it? It's been quite some time. It seems you have remembered me. You were always a man who took loyalty seriously. It has been quite some time since your last correspondence. Not for a single day have I, Renove, forgotten that I serve you, milady. I was more afraid that you had forgotten about me. After all, you can be quite forgetful. Cackle, cackle. I see, yes, I certainly am forgetful. I had forgotten even your sarcasm until I heard it again. My lady, take this. With an exaggerated yet elegant gesture, he bowed respectfully and held out to Beatrice the head's ring that he'd just caught. It is the Ushiromiya family's head ring, returned to you from Ushiromiya Kinzo. It is now once again in the possession of its master. Indeed, this is Kinzo announcing the start of the game. Of course I'll accept it. So, how shall we play tonight? Shall I prepare the roulette immediately, or shall I prepare some black tea first? I can't decide which, but first I need you to greet someone. I'm sure that guy's got his mouth hanging open and can't shut it. Right, Battler? Greetings. Allow me to introduce myself. I am called Renove. Renove? I assume that's how you pronounce it. And I serve at the side of Milady Beatrice. It is truly a pleasure to meet you. Well, I'll say this, Renove. I may be, off-put by the fact that Beatrice is not a very nice person. But I appreciate politeness and courtesy. So thank you very much, sir. Heck, I still appreciate politeness and courtesy when Beatrice chooses to use it. But the main point is this. She is not a good person. See? His mouth's hanging open and he can't shut it, right? Yeah, no shit, another incomprehensible guy just showed up. First I grumble about goat-headed people doing the Bond dance, and then goat heads start showing up in swarms. And since then, not only have those 7-ass Nissans appeared, but now there's even a butler. It doesn't make sense. Cut it out. By the way, Battler. Did you notice? Did you realize that meeting him is a true devil's proof? A devil's proof? What do you mean? He may not look like it, but this guy's one of the 72, a genuine demon. In other words, I've brought a demon right in front of you, which truly proves they exist. I'll say this again.
not an issue of accepting witches, demons, and magic. That's all perfectly well and good. My main problem is that said beings, one, in this game will hurt you for accepting it, even though they demand you accept it, but once you do, they then choose to be more mean to you. And that's not good. Also, they just want to basically humiliate, degrade, and hurt you. So, it has nothing to do, like, I am perfectly cool with the fact you guys can use magic and are supernatural. Not okay with the fact that you are not good people. Like, imagine if, like, Lunar D8 was, like, summoned, like, by the Lament configuration. But instead of, like, Pinhead with, like, fucking hooks and shit, instead you just, hi, random autistic man here. I'm into anime. I'm going to talk to you about how to, like, do geometry in math class and trains. Also, here's some ice-cold Pepsi and stuffed animals. They're all comfy and floofy and soft. And here's a giant fucking Eevee. It's very soft and fluffy. The land of ice-cold Pepsi that never is flat. It's like you opened the box. Now I have to talk to you about anime. Random video game trivia. Go. Roanoke holds a noble rank in hell, the 27th highest ranked great demon. He's a pretty useful man. I summoned him at a high cost and made him serve me. It is an honor to meet you. Again, regardless of your heritage? Or pedigree? Like, I don't really know the correct word. Status? Rank? Main point is this. Regardless of any of that, I appreciate the politeness and the courtesy. That being said, one, what did you pay in order to get him summoned, let alone to serve you? 2? I mean, granted, he's got some politeness, but I'm sure there's quite a bit of misdeeds underneath his belt. I mean, it's kind of like, again, Hannibal Lecter. He's certainly somebody that would speak with a bit of elegance and, dignity. But he's also, got some less savory dispositions, so to speak. While my name is amongst those of nobles of hell, I now serve as the head furniture. And again, Beatrice, I understand, like, shit may have happened and you may have had bad things. Maybe magic is, like, literally corrupting your brain like it's fucking heroin or some shit. But it doesn't justify you being a horrible fucking bitch. You're literally torturing and murdering and eating people. And, like, the furniture thing is this. You're basically treating people like slaves. You're treating them like property. It's degrading and dehumanizing to people. And heck, like, I don't know this dude's backstory, but I feel like he doesn't even deserve that. Granted, he'd probably like, oh, it's a bit of an honor for him because he's the head furniture, but it's just like, anyone being furniture is not very nice. Who, despite being a vulgar human, is a great witch, of such caliber that demons flee before her. He's a very useful man, but he's impudent with his words. Frustrating enough, he sometimes forgets to respect his master. Nothing in my contract specifies the manner in which I am to speak. Would you like to change that contract? It keeps me entertained, so it's fine. Beatrice turned her back to him, cackling. After bowing once to her, Renove turned back to Battler and stuck out his right hand, showing off an innocent smile. I mean, granted, I know you're not an innocent individual, but I would probably still shake your hand, because I value politeness. Even under these trying times. Normally, this would mean that he was asking for a handshake. Am I misunderstanding? What is this supposed to be? I am another who was subjected to my lady's whims. In that sense, I am sure we could become good friends. This is a handshake of friendship. Of course, this is in no way implies your entry into a contract with the demon, so fear not. Sorry, but I'm right in the middle of a big fight with your master. I only shake hands with an enemy after we've beaten each other up in a rainy schoolyard and are all worn out like something you'd see in a teen drama. Remember that? Remember that. I see. To shake hands with you, Battlersome, I must create a fitting atmosphere in a suitable location, exchanging sweet words and physical language with you that rings true to your heart. When the opportunity arrives, I shall arrange for such an encounter. I must say, I simply love situations like that myself. Poo-hoo-hoo. Why does this remind me of Goku and Vegeta? Is Battler gonna be yelling Kaioken as Renove shoots his fucking Gallic gun? We're gonna see Renove's giant monkey form. Thank God he thought he was gonna say penis. Bringing his face so close that their noses were almost touching. Battler, his face turning red after getting so close to another of the same sex, pushed him away. You're a creepy bastard. I see, just right for Beato's butler. It is an honor to receive such words of praise. I'm very confident in my tea brewing abilities, so please look forward to tea time. Baking cookies is one of my hobbies, so please feel free to request any snacks you may desire. Okay, as long as the tea and the cookies aren't made out of people. I mean, I like tea and cookies. So I would appreciate that, provided they're not, evil cookies. Just what I'd expect from a pair of the same gender. You've started getting along well right off the bat. I'm jealous. My, I apologize for making you jealous, my lady. I shall not sneakily snatch your guest away from you. Okay, is she jealous that you guys are getting along, or is she jealous that the attention wasn't on her? It's like, you guys are forgetting I'm here. I'm all that matters. I'm the center of the universe. Well then, I will leave for now to retake my post as head furniture and greet my subordinates. Please forgive my short absence. Indeed, only the common goats and the 7 sisters used to the ceremony have manifested themselves. You will be able to finish greeting them in no time. Oh? Those lively 7 sisters are here. I wonder if those naughty girls have grown a little more graceful. If that's graceful, I'll have to doubt the definition of the word graceful. Is that so? Then I suppose you've already had the opportunity to play with those sisters. Judging by your expression, it would seem they're just as naughty as always. Naughty. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Does anyone like that show? I like the show. I haven't seen it in a long time, though. Even though I am always telling them to act more fitting servants of Beatrice-sama. What troublesome kids. If that's your problem, don't worry. They actually act perfectly fitting for their master. Cackle. Now even you have begun to say it. However, a conversation means that you accept your partner. The fact that you've started to respond to my idle chatter proves that you are gradually starting to accept my existence. Again, I'm okay with your existence. It's just the fact that you're really not a nice person. One, you kind of throw immature temper tantrums like a child, except you have, powers. It'd be like if, I don't know, the Incredible Hulk had no self-control and wasn't, in a movie by Marvel or Disney, but was by the person who made Berserk. aside from that is the fact that you just don't respect people, and also them accepting your existence usually means that you wind up hurting them more. Like, it'd be one thing to like just accept your existence. Like, that's fine. I can accept changes in reality, autistic or not. That being said, one, anytime someone accepts your existence, you just use it as an excuse to become meaner to them. And I don't know about everyone else, but I don't like it when people are more mean. And two, and this is a big one, you do really not nice things to people. You know, I'm okay with you having magic, but the fact that you like use it to sadistically torture people. Also, more than that even, is the fact that you are very disrespectful to people. Like, I'd be perfectly fine with you, like, accepting your existence if, you know, you weren't psychotic or hurt people, or, you know, probably have bipolar. I don't know. Like, there's some issue, like, where you, like, switch, you know, your mood or something in a way that's unpredictable and unsafe feeling. You also seem to not have self-control. You also seem to not have, I don't know, any reservations about hurting people. I question your empathy and compassion. I'm not sure if you would rank as a psychopath or a sociopath or any of those things. But the main thing is this. You aren't, you know, respectful to other people. Like, you need to be more respectful to people in general, and also a lot more respectful to me. So that's kind of the major issue. You're really very, you're not nice. And you tend to treat people as if they're subhuman. And as if they're garbage. And it's just, that's really not nice, Beatrice. I'm okay with your existence. I just would like it if you weren't a bitch. Heh. That's because even if the sun starts rising in the west, I would definitely absolutely never accept that you're a witch. You might want to try a more positive approach, like crying and kissing my shoes. Even if Battler was bluffing, he still spoke forcefully, a fearless expression on his face. The witch and her butler snickered together, realizing that their guest had regained more than enough of his willpower to attend to a new game, and that preparations were complete. After Renovo exchanged a few words with Beatrice, he bowed silently to the Battler, scattered into several butterflies, and disappeared. Well, it's like Kinzo and Nanjo said in the previous game. A game, any game, isn't any fun if the opponent isn't giving it their best. I mean, Yujiro didn't like it the time that one dude died of a heart attack during their fight. In the same way, if you guys were like actually playing a game of chess with somebody, I mean, you know, if they weren't paying attention or they're half asleep and they're making stupid mistakes, yes, you win, but you feel robbed of the proper, you know, you can't really brag about that win, and you can't feel proud of it, and you can't enjoy it. Like, imagine you're playing like Mortal Kombat on the TV with somebody, and the other person just sort of falls asleep in the middle of the match. Like, yeah, you could probably, you know, win the fight easily at that point, but are you actually having fun? No. But yeah, again, like, I don't really have an issue with accepting Beatrice's existence, but given the fact that the moment you accept her existence as a witch, she then uses it as an excuse to hurt you and be really mean, at that point, it's like, you know, okay, fuck you. I'm not accepting you because you're a mean person. Also, because you tend to treat people really badly, not just with hurting them, but you tend to disrespect people and think of them as like garbage and stuff, and tell them they're garbage. And treat them like they're just defective garbage. So that's not nice. Don't like that at all. Cackle. It is truly pleasing to have such a boisterous atmosphere. How boring were the days when I was trapped alone on this island, unable to regain my power, and lacking anyone to talk to. I get how that
unpleasant guy is really fitting as your butler. But tell me, why has that butler only appeared now? You said something about how only the goats and the Nachons of the 7 stakes had manifested themselves. What did that mean? Indeed. You still resist, but I am a fully fledged witch. I am in contract with several non-human entities in the spirit world. I'll bet no sane people would hang out with you. First, some goat monsters, and then those ass Nichans, and this time a demon butlers showed up? I hate to think about it, but the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if even more weird people appeared. Is that Einzel gone? Among the furniture that work at my great golden mansion, how many demons do you think want to come over and play?
I have a question. What's the point of having a giant golden mansion if it's invisible?
They will keep coming. Many of them will appear. When the door to the Golden Land is open, I will call back all of my furniture and build my new castle here on Rockanjima. And then I plan to invite all my old friends, and we'll drink and dance together for 3 days and 3 nights.
I mean, that's all well and good. I'm cool with that. Except for the part where you guys are, like, eating and drinking people. And by dancing, it's you know, doing things that exist in R-rated movies. Of course, I also plan to invite Kinzo's family, you see. You too, if you wish. Again, I mean, I'd be okay with that as, like, 1, I'm not trapped there as, like, your hostage, and 2, you're not, like, being mean to me. And I feel like, by default, you're kind of mean to me. And I feel like if I go there, you're more mean to me. And if I accept you as a witch, or accept that you have magic, you'll also be more mean to me. So, as much as you're, like, trying to get me to accept, like, there's no incentive. Like, there's no benefit. There is no way in which, like, there's nothing that good that comes of me accepting you. Like, you just use it as an excuse to be even more mean to me. So is this what you mean? That since you lost your power for a long time, you couldn't summon them? And then, since your magic has been gradually increasing, you've become able to summon more and more monsters. It is, as you say, you stopped a hair's breadth before crumbling, but your heart is already wavering, and you are unable to deny that I am a witch. That wavering in your heart has been slowly restoring my power as a witch. And again, that means me accepting you as a witch gives you superpowers. Also, you're a bitch. You're, like, really not nice to people. So once you have more powers, it's like, so me denying you is, like, literally the only leverage I have to stop you from literally, I don't know, conquering the planet? Fucking dark side? So are you trying to say that Creepy Butler appeared because I started to surrender? That's right. Bit by bit, you are surrendering to me. Isn't all that humiliation you suffered in the last game a result of you submitting to me so deeply? Wasn't it great when you had to sacrifice your back for the sake of my feet? Damn it. I'll say this. Not nice to treat people like an ottoman. Not nice at all. I thought I'd be able to keep things as they were as long as I didn't accept you, but it looks like that was wrong. Correct. The closer you get to surrendering, the more the game will swing in my favor. Isn't chess the same? In the process of cornering each other's kings, we trade several pieces. Of course, I still haven't cornered your king. And furthermore, you're giving it everything you've got just to help your king escape and have lost several pieces to me, as well as a large advantage. It is only natural that further developments will tend to turn in my favor. Damn. From now on, you will probably be frantic as you try to avoid my checkmate. However, as you do, I will steal your pieces from you one by one. In the end, you'll have lost everything but your king, and you won't be able to escape no matter how much you try. Then you will receive a true checkmate. You were talking big last time, weren't you? Something about how you'd never accept me and would torment me with eternal torture. Only witches who have reached the endless level can talk about eternity. That's been beyond you ever since the very beginning. Cackle, haha. It's not nice. Like, you treat Cannon and Shannon like they're fucking slaves. Like they're just property. They're not even people. Kinzo-sama has already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold with the epitaph under my portrait. The rules apply equally to all who can read the epitaph. If you discover the gold, I shall return everything to you. Tonight, I ask that you enjoy your battle of wits with Kinzo-sama to the fullest. I sincerely pray that this night will be both intellectual and elegant. Beatrice the Golden. When Maria finished reading the letter that Beatrice had handed her, everyone was at a loss for words for a while, and then they all broke the silence at once. Ridiculous! What a worthless, vicious prank. Seriously, there was no way Father gave up the head's ring. Beatrice? Ha! What a transparent prank, hoping to confuse us just by bringing up that name. Hey, who filled this dessert up with a little too much punch? I want to applaud and praise you, so come clean, okay? Rosa? Oh, of course not. I wouldn't pull a prank by assuming Father's name. Then Aniki? Me? Are you an idiot? It was Nissan, right? Only he could plan something this vulgar. Are you trying to mock me? I'm the only one who wants to question you. I'm the one who wants to question you. Who is behind this ill-natured prank? Kraus beat the table and stared at everyone. Since that included the children too, he scared most of them. A letter from a mysterious person who claims to have been given full rights to Father's assets. Again, Kairi. Very, very beautiful. I like everything about Kairi. We now had to listen to Lunar D8 be a complete fucking simp. But you know what? Simping is only a thing if you're valuing someone who doesn't deserve it. Kairi deserves it. So, not simping. Also, not a real person. Considering that the whole point of this family conference is a discussion of that subject, I think it's too hasty to call this a mere prank. We can't be sure. Maybe it really is one of Father's Shady's pranks. He might have planned this to shock us a bit, since we've been discussing the distribution of his inheritance without him. If Dad was the one who planned this, then we can't take what Maria Chan just read aloud as a joke, right? That's right. If you interpret the contents literally, then this is a test from Father. The epitaph of the witch has been displayed in the hall for quite some time now, so that any one of us could solve it. There was plenty of notice. That means he was saying that the first person to solve it would be handed the inheritance along with all of his wealth, right? See? My magic granted your wish. Nothing so foolish could possibly be the case. It is an unshakable fact that my husband is the successor to the Ushiromiya family headship. Well, doesn't this letter shake that? This is a message from the person who was given full rights to all of Father's wealth. Nissan's right to become the head has returned to a blank slate. The person who solves the riddle, the person who finds Beatrice's gold, will become the next head of the Ushiromiya family. Ridiculous. Do you think we can trust the meaningless words in that letter? That the seal was the real thing? There's no way we could trust that. Then let's try and go and ask Father directly. At this point, you can't get away with saying he's grumpy or feeling bad, right? The sealed wax clearly shows that this was from Father's representative. If you doubt that, then show some proof, Nissan. Show that this letter does not contain Father's will. Very well. It is just as you say. It no longer matters whether Father's in a good mood or not. Let us go up and ask him directly. Let's do it. We'll ask Dad directly. Dad is Dad, so why would he act in such a roundabout way? Then again, I guess that would be like him. I wonder if we really should continue this discussion on the assumption that this letter came from Father. Stupid Rosa. Isn't it obviously from Father? That letter is Father's. Isn't it obvious that he's giving the four of us an even chance to become the successor? Die, you brainless idiot. Rosa really is dumb. If only she'd just give up and die. I'm sorry? That's right, I'm sorry. Does anyone else react to this? In the beginning, the adults had all doubted the credibility of the letter, but after realizing that this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance in the inheritance struggle for the three younger siblings, Ava changed her position, claiming the letter was authentic. Rudolph and Rosa caught on and agreed. Outrageous! How can adults like you take such a worthless prank this seriously? I don't need to be Father to understand his contempt. Whoa, 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 Natsui-san! All we gotta do is ask Father and we're done, right? Won't everything be fine if Father just tells us that he doesn't know anything about the letter? Nissan? Take responsibility and just get him to say that he doesn't know about the letter. This is no time to get scared just because he's in a bad mood, okay? He's still scared of Father at his age. That idiot. If only he'd just give up and die. Yeah, let's get this settled clearly. He's probably eating in his study right now. Let's have him set down his chopsticks for just a moment. It's decided. Let's go. Kairi, wait here for a while. You know, in the first game, Ava survived, but so did Natsui and, of course, Hideyoshi. And Ava and Hideyoshi both died at the same time. How would Ava turn out if Hideyoshi is dead and she's left alone? Heck, what if George is dead? How much would Ava fucking spiral? We'll go check whether it's true or not and come back quickly. Thank you. Staring directly at her boobs. I still think she looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur 2, a great fighting game for the PS2. But yeah, I like Kairi. I think she's very pretty. I'll wait patiently for Goto-san to bring in dessert. I also like her personality, and she's also very intelligent. I like that too. The four siblings, Natsui, Hideyoshi, all rose from their seats forcefully and flew out into the hallway with a clatter. Afterwards, only the children, stunned, completely speechless, Nanjo, who looked uncomfortable, and Kairi, who just shrugged, were left. Where are Ken and all the other people? Like, were they not in the room with us? In the middle of all this was Maria, who looked a little scared at the adults' sudden change. However, judging from her appearance, she didn't look like she realized the full meaning of what she'd just read. What in the world was that all about? I don't get it. They're all bastards. Do they really want the inheritance that much? Everyone, this is our parents' problem. It has nothing to do with us, so you mustn't worry about it. Even if you say that. They were so blatant about it. I can't believe them, showing off their greed like that. Ooh? Everyone has to believe together that we'll be happy, ooh? That's right. We all did promise. Come on, Battler-kun, Jessica-chan, you too. Ha! I feel horrible. We couldn't accept it at all, but we laid down our arms for the time being. We'd been vaguely aware of how filthy this family conference was going to be. However, after that 6-year blank, I couldn't help but being shocked. When he saw that the children were completely dejected, Dr. Nanjo cleared his throat uncomfortably. It's an adult matter. It has nothing to do with all of you young people. Let us forget about it. I would if I could. I know it's hard, but forget it for now. All of your parents are fighting frantically to make your futures just a little brighter. I mean, we don't need to be super rich. I mean, As long as you have enough money to, be okay. I'm staring right at her nipples. And everyone's like, you don't need to announce that to everyone. I know. But I'd rather be transparent about that. What if her shirt was transparent? Just like imagining where each of her nipples are. Hi, I'm Lunar D8 and I like boobs. Also, I think Kyrie has a pretty face. Everyone's like, you can't date an anime character, Lunar. Yeah. True. Also, her clothes look really nice. Not only look really nice on her, but they also... Then again, these people are like really rich, so of course they're like really dressed nice. Just saying, I like everyone's outfits. And I think Kyrie is very pretty. Please, don't look at your injured parents with those cold eyes when they come back. No matter how much you ask us, Kyrie-san, that'll be tough. If we could be happy with an explanation like that, we wouldn't be kids. Ooh. Everyone be happy. Can't get dark. Believe. If everyone doesn't believe we can be happy, that happiness will get away. Everyone has to believe. Okay, we believe in, like, we're gonna be okay. It's just, we kind of, everyone, we feel kind of sad that the older people here were all yelling and angry at each other. I like the sound of that. I'll believe too. It's like every 5 seconds, it's like, again, Soul Calibur 2. It's a great fighting game for the PlayStation 2. Ivy. She looks like Ivy. I'll believe we can find happiness. Ooh, Aunt Kyrie, thank you. Battler and Jessica, you believe too. Beatrice is also always saying that magic won't have any power if you don't believe. Ooh. Kyrie-san rose from her seat quietly, went over to Maria and crouched down so that their eyes met. Ooh. Aunt Kyrie believed. Now Battler and Jessica have to believe. Those two are strong. They'll feel better soon, and then they'll believe. Yeah! More importantly, I want you to tell me something. When Kyrie said that, Jessica, George, Nikki, Dr. Nanjo, and I all listened closely. It looked like our parents were so concerned with the inheritance problem that grandfather filled their minds, but we wanted to ask Maria about something simpler. Ooh? What? Who gave you that letter? Beatrice, the witch drawn in the portrait. Ooh? She gave me this letter and an umbrella, and she used magic to fix my rose that was broken. Beatrice is an awesome witch who can do anything. Could you tell us about that in a bit more detail? Without even being allowed to wait for dessert, we were chased out of the room. I heard that, in the end, our parents were unable to get grandfather to respond. Well, I hate to say it, but I feel like giving grandfather a high five right now. He was probably pretty satisfied with how his strange letter had given his children a good shock, since they'd all been so infatuated with the inheritance problem while grandfather was still alive. I also felt like our despicable parents had gotten what they deserved in all of this confusion, but I couldn't really say that I was feeling great. I felt all sulky. Apparently grandfather hadn't seemed concerned with the whole thing, but he also hadn't denied anything about the letter either. When talking about the witch's letter, Grandfather's name kept popping up. If Grandfather knew that someone was stealing his name, then, considering his character, he'd probably be mad with rage. But even though Grandfather now knew the contents of the letter, he coldly ignored it. So did that count as a silent yes? Aunt Ava and Dad were trying to interpret the letter in their favor, their greed clearly visible. It wouldn't have mattered so much if that was all, but the adults had now started focusing on Maria, who had received the letter. They kept pounding her with questions about who had given it to her. Maria repeated over and over again that she had gotten it from Beatrice, but there was no way such a mysterious person could have sneaked onto the island. After all, this island's small, and there's no one living on it outside the Ushiromiya family household. Maria kept repeating that she'd gotten it from Beatrice no matter how many times she was asked. The adults seemed to think she was trying to trick them, so they didn't hold back and questioned her until she broke out in tears. When Maria was released, she sobbed, all worn out from crying. After our parents ordered us to go to the guest house and take Maria with us, they shut themselves up in the dining hall and started getting louder and louder as they discussed the inheritance. It seemed that because of that strange letter, Uncle Krause's chances of becoming the next head might have been reduced to a blank slate, and in exchange for accepting him, my dad and the rest were trying to swindle Uncle Krause out of a lot of money, or something like that. Disgusted as we were, Jessica and I were happy to move over to the guest house. We didn't want to be under the same roof as those filthy adults, their heads so filled with thoughts about money. George and Nikki pleaded on our parents' behalf, saying that he wanted us to understand them. I understood his reasoning. No matter how filthy this talk of money was, it wouldn't go away if you just closed your eyes to it. But even so, how could they sink so low as to overtly fight over the money of the dead, who aren't even dead? Maria had cried herself dry and was hiding in her bed. She hadn't even twitched for a while, so she was probably sleeping. Who in the world gave that letter to Maria-chan? George Nissan? You can't ask her that anymore. Isn't it fine to say that Maria got it from Beatrice and leave it at that? After all, we don't want to make her cry any more than this. Even though we said that, we couldn't clear away a gloomy feeling. There are only 18 people on this island now. The thought that somewhere in the rain a 19th person gave Maria-chan that letter and is now hiding somewhere doesn't seem realistic at all. I disagree, George. I think it's very realistic, but I also think it's scary because you don't know who that 19th person is. You'll go, Beatrice. Yes, but here's the thing. I haven't met her. We haven't met her. She hasn't introduced herself to everyone. Like, she wasn't there at the actual dinner. More importantly, is if there is a 19th person, then has she brought additional people with her as well? Most likely, somebody got Shannon or someone to put on... Who's saying this, George or Jessica? I feel like either one of them would be offended at this statement. Most likely, somebody got Shannon or someone to put on a dress in the portrait and cleverly got Maria to go along with their story. Though in Maria's case, just seeing the dress would probably convince her that it was Beatrice. Maybe it doesn't really matter who handed her the letter. The important thing is who sent it. The point is that Grandfather wanted to cause an uproar by assuming the name of the witch. Seriously, that old geezer's good at riling people up. The most likely answer is that our occult-loving grandfather was playing around, handing the letter over to Maria, who shares the same hobby as he does, in such a dramatic way, though he failed to give any thought for what Maria would have to go through, making it a pretty shitty thing to do. Seriously, messing around with Maria's pure heart. It doesn't matter who handed the letter over. Maria says she got it from Beatrice, so let's treat it that way. I agree. Let's do that. To Maria-chan, Beatrice is kind of like what Santa Claus is to most kids. Is she still awake listening to this? Whatever Whether we're dealing with someone's non-existent 19th person or Santa Claus, as long as we all acknowledge them, they'll at least exist inside Maria. I see. Guess it can be important to lie to a child to protect their dreams. What's up, Jessica? Are you still angry? Jessica had her hand on her chin, as though there was something that she just couldn't understand. When I called out to her, she came to her senses. Ah, sorry. Well, actually, I was wondering if Maria might have actually met Beatrice. What do you mean by that? Are you saying that there's a 19th person on this island? If you truly take Maria Chan's words to heart, then you would arrive at that answer. No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about the story that someone we don't know who has been living on this island since long ago. Living, you say? Where? In the forest. Is it Mark Zuckerberg in an underground bunker? The adults were gathered in the dining hall, spending a very long time continuing the discussion that had been started by Beatrice's letter. Kraus strongly claimed the letter was a simple prank, but he couldn't overturn the claim that Kenzo's failure to deny the letter was answer enough. Judging by Kenzo's character, if he knew that a letter had been written in his name, he would be mad with rage. Since all the siblings knew that, Kraus had no choice but to withdraw his claim. Without even having to summarize it, the contents of the letter were simple. The person who could solve the witch's epitaph would receive the headship and assets. This did a lot of damage to Kraus, who had been sure that he would receive the headship, and was better news than the rest of them, who had already given up, could have hoped for. However, there were some points that worried them. The person who solved the epitaph was not limited to a member of the Ushiromiya family. Taken literally, anyone, no matter how doubtful their origin, might receive the headship. And furthermore, this meant there was a chance that all of the Ushiromiya family's assets would be stolen by some unknown person. In that sense, it was definitely not a situation where even the other siblings could afford to lower their guard. Had this letter come from an assassin sent by Kenzo calling themselves Beatrice, or was this the scheme of some unknown person trying to steal the Ushiromiya family's wealth? They still didn't know the truth, but they could say one thing for certain. Maria had received this problematic letter today on this island. In other words, someone planning something to do with the letter was on this island today. Had it been set up by Kenzo, one of the four siblings, or maybe some unknown person, no matter how much they suspected each other, they couldn't reach a conclusion. After getting tired of bickering with each other, they finally reached the extremely obvious conclusion that doubting each other was just a waste of time. We've made no progress. We've just been spinning our wheels. That's right. And the mere fact that you've realized it means we won't have to waste any more time. It is not certain that Father sent the letter. My husband is merely exasperated by your inability to hold a conversation. Who's unable to hold a conversation? You keep yelling at me every other time I say something. Do you truly think that such shameful behavior is fitting for the member of the Ushiromiya family? Would you just give it a rest, Ava? You too, Natsui-san. That topic's finished for now. So shall we all cool our heads for now? Let's have some cool drinks brought over. Pepsi! That sounds good. I agree, Kyrie. I agree. I would also like some Pepsi. It would probably be wiser if we cooled our heads. Don't you want to take a short break too, dear? Aneke looks like she's in a bad mood, so I'll pass on that break. But I agree about the cool drinks. Rosa, have someone bring some water. A whole pitcher. Yes, understood. Rosa headed over to the extension, telephoned in a corner of the room, and called the servant room. She then passed on what Rudolph had told her to the person on the other end. The vicious bickering up until now vanished as though it had been a lie. That silence continued until Goda finished setting the table and retreated from the room. Is there anything else that you require? No. Please leave us. Yes. Then, if you will excuse me, if you need anything, call me at any time. After listening to the sound of Goda's footsteps disappearing into the distance, everyone took a deep breath at the same time to break the tension. It sure is raining hard. I wonder if this 19th person is taking shelter in the Rose Garden Arbor about now. I wonder. They might be able to escape the rain there, but it would be quite cold. A mysterious 19th person as a visitor. Sounds pretty interesting, just like a mystery novel. Normally in that kind of story, it's safe bet that the person doesn't exist, that one of us 18 would be faking it. I suspect Genji and the others, just as I thought we should have fired all the servants of the one-winged eagle, no matter what excuses we had to make. Come now, don't say that. We must be grateful for their long years of service. Of course we can't let our guards down. I'm sure you agree too, Nissan, that whether or not Father was behind this, the person who handed Maria the letter was a servant. Indeed. In any event, we were all being friendly in our big happy circle until dinner, weren't we? All of the siblings have alibis. Only a servant could have handed Maria that letter. But all of the servants said that they were too busy with the bed making to have any spare time during which they could go to Maria and the Rose Garden. Hey, what are you trying to say then? You aren't saying that the witch of the forest Beatrice-sama came over and actually handed Maria that letter, are you? Rosa, you used to believe in that so much it really frightened you, right? Don't tell me you still believe at this age in the witch of the forest. If she did exist, I'd love for her to appear. But no matter how much I wish she didn't appear before me even once, she didn't save me from my crisis. Of course not. I just thought that since all 18 of us said we didn't do anything, there might really be a 19th person. That can't be. In the first place, we were only ones who came out on the boat, which means whoever was here had to be here before us. We didn't see any mysterious stranger riding with us. You don't think they could have swam across this rough sea, right? I can't really imagine it. Wahahaha. Logically, that's true. It is difficult to imagine that there's a single hidden, uninvited guest on this isolated... It is a big building you guys are in, on a bit of land. However, it looks like some of us still can't abandon the possibility completely, right? Hideyoshi had laughed it off, saying there couldn't be a 19th person, but Kairi had sensitively picked up on the delicate atmosphere among the four siblings. In a normal situation, there shouldn't have been any uninvited guests on this small, isolated island. How would they have come here? And from where? And where were they hiding? And why hadn't they appeared openly, even though they had sent a letter in their name? Nothing could explain that. But not only had the four siblings not joined in on Hideyoshi's laughing, but they also seemed unable to completely deny in their hearts the possibility of a 19th person. Kairi-san, please don't misunderstand. It's not as though we believe in that fairy tale like Legend of the Witch. Is this another topic to insult Father? Simply speaking of such a thing is betrayal against him. Giggle. I wonder. However, this is Father we're talking about. It could be possible, right? I don't know anything. What's this? What's this? Why has everyone gotten so gloomy? What are you talking about? In short, the Legend of Witch isn't a joke, but a fact. That's ridiculous. Of course, nobody believes in some witch riding a broom and flying in the sky, but the woman in that portrait, Beatrice, might really have existed on this island. Hideyoshi-san, it looks like we aren't talking about a witch, but something a little simpler. So it must be something like this. Everyone suspects that Father had a mistress named Beatrice, secretly living somewhere on this island. Is that it? Father was always exemplary at keeping strictly to the rules. It is completely inconceivable that he would bring something so filthy onto this island. Natsui snapped at them immediately, but it looked like the four siblings, including Kraus, didn't agree. On the contrary, they appeared to think Kinzo wouldn't even have hesitated to do something like that. From the beginning, it had been whispered that Kinzo had built a mansion on this island specifically because of the existence of an entrancing mistress. I'm sorry, Natsue-san. I know how much you respect Dad, but that rumor started a long time ago. He handled the construction on this island entirely on his own. People have always guessed he had some contraption or secret room set up in this mansion that only he knew about. And it's always been whispered that hidden somewhere on this island there's a secret mansion none of us know about. I see. This island might look small on a map, but it's quite large for just the Ushiromiya family to live on. So people have suspected that he built a secret mansion somewhere in the uncivilized forest for his mistress to live in. That would be quite a large-scale scheme. In the beginning, people thought it might be somewhere inside this mansion, that there might be a hidden basement with a fabulous hidden room where the witch in the portrait was secretly hiding. Okay, that sounds kind of creepy. It went from, oh, I have a secret mistress, to she's chained up in the fucking basement. Jesus! It isn't too hard to imagine, right? After all, Father did spread the rumor that a large amount of gold was hidden somewhere by some mechanism. I wouldn't be surprised if there existed some hidden room inside this very mansion that none of us knows about yet. When Mother was alive, she would often scour the entire mansion searching for Father when he wasn't anywhere to be found. Mother also suspected that what Rudolph just said. She believed that there was a hidden door or stairway somewhere, and that his blonde-haired mistress was hidden behind it. It's hard to believe, but there are some actual examples in other countries of people cheating with someone over a period of several decades by making them live in a hidden attic room. This sounds weird. This I don't know how to feel about it. It sounds weird. And this is the attic where we keep the people I've been hiding. Like, it's what? What? It just does not sound normal. Or is this just a rich people thing? I don't know. Like, I imagine if I was rich, I would just like, what do you have, Lunar? I have endless Pepsi. Yay. Not, I have people chained up in my basement. Like, I don't even have a basement. Or an attic. And if I did, I wouldn't have people in them. I'd probably, if I had a basement, I'd probably have, like, you know, a bench press. Weight bench. If I had an attic, I'd just... It's like, this is where I store all my anime. I don't know. Furthermore, Kinzo had a mansion this extravagant. It was possible to suspect the existence of a hidden room. I mean, that may make sense, but it'd be kind of weird if there... Like, it'd be okay if there's a hidden room that someone visits occasionally, but not, here's a hidden room where I keep someone living there. From what I've heard, the legend of the Rockinjima Witch was just a fairy tale made up to scare children away from the uncivilized forest, but it's starting to sound like there's a little bit more to that story. Well, as you know, this is a lonely island without anything but Ushiromiya Mansion on it. When Rosa and I were little brats on stormy nights,
We got so scared by the sound of the trees rustling in the direction of the forest, we had this crazy delusion that something weird might be looking out at us from between those trees. It's only natural for a brat to think of stuff like that, but when Rosa and I complained about it, some people figured it was more than a brat's imagination. Isn't that right, Aneke? Yeah, Nisa and I thought you might have coincidentally spotted Father's mistress, living in secrecy on this island, as she went out for a walk when no one was looking. Of course, Mother felt the same. Even among the older servants, you often heard the ghost story about how the Witch of the Portraits wanders the mansion at midnight. Outwardly, I laughed it off as just a ghost story, but on the inside I suspected very much that it hinted at the existence of a hidden mistress. In that case, you're saying that the existence of a 19th person might not be completely ridiculous? That they might actually be somewhere around here? Sounds like one of those devil's proofs Rudolph's always talking about. It might be possible to prove that there is a 19th person, but it's impossible to prove that a 19th person doesn't exist. By the way, here and here. Should we continue this discussion under the assumption that there's a person named Beatrice hiding somewhere on this island? That's a good plan from the perspective of risk management. It's probably much more prudent to say she might exist rather than saying she couldn't exist. I see. Sorry, I was a bit careless. Rosa-san, sorry for laughing just now. It's fine, I don't mind. Hideyoshi apologized deeply for taking the worst-case scenario lightly, despite calling himself the president of a company. Silence fell again. Preparing for the existence of a 19th person would mean, in effect, acknowledging the presence of some unknown person hidden on this island, and since this person might be planning something shady, it was only natural that the conversation would turn in an ominous direction. In the past, Father would sometimes suddenly disappear without telling anyone where he went. After all, he is a man who values silence. It wouldn't have been out of the ordinary for him to shut himself up in some library room after purposely not telling anyone where he was going. However, when the witch theory was slowly refined into the theory about his mistress, people eventually whispered that he was secretly going back and forth to see her. Mom was totally paranoid in her last years. She'd sometimes suddenly start making a fuss, asking the servants to start looking for Dad immediately because of some urgent situation. Yes, that did happen sometimes. Mother was always doing things like that in her later years, and that frightening atmosphere still hasn't gone away. I can say it for certain now, she was a person to be pitied. So then, what happened with those large-scale searches of the house? Did they find anything? No. Father wasn't caught foolishly in a hidden room even once. Always, after a long time passed, he would suddenly show up somewhere. Then he'd say that he had taken a nap in some library room, or that the wind had summoned him to take a walk on the beach. But it was always some place where the servants had already looked. We never knew where Father had gone. Even at that time, Grandfather was famous for his occult inclinations, so some of the servants exaggerated, saying that he might have turned into butterflies and danced around the rose garden. So in short, Father frequently disappeared, and no one knew where he went. Yeah. Since we couldn't find him no matter how much we looked inside the mansion, we got more and more sure that Dad might have been somewhere outside. But the area outside the mansion isn't large at all, which leaves only the forest. And if you tie that in with the legend of the witch, you get a theory like this. Father actually built a hidden mansion somewhere in the forest. I mean, apparently he's built an entire fucking chapel that's called the Sealed Chapel that no one's allowed to go into, and that he'll, like, punch his children if they even look at the outside of the building. Inside of which a mistress by the name of Beatrice lived, and he sometimes went to see her. I was also young at the time. I was so eager to find where Father was having his affair that at one time I followed him when he went outside.
Of course, it was a failure. Every time Father went out, he was oddly intent on avoiding places where he might be seen and was extremely careful to prevent anyone from spotting him, and he was extraordinarily earnest in his attempts to do so. But that actually made me sure. He must have been going out for some reason that the members of his family couldn't know about. Yeah, I mean, if he's actually being that fucking, paranoid about being followed, then he's not doing that for no reason. And that'd be going to meet his mistress, probably trying to avoid being seen. After seeing Hideyoshi nod and say yes, as though this was quite obvious, Ava got a little sullen. Well, anyway, this island was like a sketchbook in which Father, with his Western obsession, could draw out all of his dreams. Everything about this island was exactly how Father wanted it. It wouldn't be odd at all if there was a hidden mansion somewhere for his mistress to live in. Ava's words spoke for what all of the siblings had come to think. For a while, the room returned to silence again, and everyone listened to the sound of the wind and the rain. Was there a hidden mansion on this island, and had Kinzo's mistress been living there in hiding for a long, long time? Everyone thought they were being too suspicious, and they hesitated for a long time without speaking, but everyone shared a common opinion. Kairi, who had been listening the whole time with her eyes closed, spoke to no one in particular. How long has this rumor about Father's mistress been around? As soon as we moved to this island about 30 years ago. After all, it probably would have been impossible for him to have had a hidden mansion built while we were here. People and materials would have to be going in and out. It would have been exposed quickly. So, if it was possible, it happened before we moved here. It probably could have been built along with his mansion when we were still living in Odawara. Since Father had to set up a double life with his family and his mistress, it's probably reasonable to assume that he had it all planned from the beginning, and his relationship with the mistress probably went back to the days when we lived in Odawara. Probably. If, as Father says, she is the source of vast amounts of gold he used to gain the funds that resurrected the Ushiromiya family, we could probably conclude that they had a close relationship since Odawara, a relationship trusting enough for her to lend him a vast quantity of gold. I can't even imagine how old that relationship must have been. Perhaps Father gave her some kind of valuable advice for succeeding in business. It's natural to think that out of a sense of gratitude for that, this person gave Father the gold. If you think about it that way, it's obvious that they would have had a close relationship after that. Rather than a festering relationship with a mistress, it was probably a relationship of gratitude to the person who saved the Ushiromiya family from its crisis. Can it be both? I don't know if what Natsui-san's saying has a ring of truth to it or not. But even in that case, isn't building a hidden mansion and having her live in it going a bit too far? Doesn't that mean they've felt something a bit more than gratitude? Well, this is all just speculation. In the first place, no one's ever found that hidden mansion. Aniki, you were planning on expanding this island into a resort, right? As you were doing that, you didn't manage to stumble on it by chance, did you? Maybe you even bumped into some gold there, too. Ha ha ha! Do you think Rockanjima's a treasure island or something? Don't play dumb. We know that, although you say you're opening a resort, you have really been planning to investigate the entire island, right? Judging by all that trouble and confusion we were talking about earlier, you haven't been very successful, have you? I don't know what you're talking about, but it's a misunderstanding. Isn't it perfectly natural that the investigating this island would be the first step in turning it into a resort? Kraus tried to play dumb, but it was plainly obvious to his siblings who knew him so well. Kraus was definitely sure of the existence of a hidden mansion, and under the pretense of opening a resort, he had been closely investigating the island, searching for a clue as to the location of the hidden gold. They couldn't tell whether that conviction was just him overthinking things or whether it was based on some physical proof. Still, if Kraus, with all of his guile, was sure, that was enough proof for the other siblings to be sure too. The story about a witch living in the forest is obviously a fairy tale, but the story of some blonde-haired girl living secretly in a mansion that no one knows about in the middle of the forest isn't much better. That's right. That really would be just like a fairy tale. You like those, don't you, Rosa? Huh? But well... When the mansion was built on this island, Father was at the height of his prosperity. With his money, he could probably obtain anything. make any of his wild imaginings real. A mansion in the forest where a witch quietly waits. It sounds like the kind of situation Father would like. Doesn't it? Like something from the occult or a fairy tale. It feels like Dad's kind of hobby. On this island, on which the Ushiromiya family had lived for 30 years, a hidden mansion that no one knew about had been quietly built to house a witch about whom nothing was known except what could be guessed from a portrait. Even this hastily thrown together theory might not be completely delusional, considering all of Kinzo's strange habits and his vast wealth. I mean, if you're rich, I guess that's what you do. It might not have been impossible. Everyone's like, Lunar, it is sad and pathetic that the only thing you would do is you would have a second fridge filled with nothing but Pepsi. It's like, here is my fridge for food. And here is my fridge that has 37 12-packs of ice-cold Pepsi cans. And they're like, but why is there also a 12-pack of Pepsi in the normal fridge? Because that's the 12-pack I'm currently drinking? Never-ending Pepsi. It might not have been impossible for Father to build a hidden mansion to satisfy his dreams. However, let's be realistic. Would it be possible to house his beloved woman in that hidden mansion for decades without it becoming inconvenient? Well, if there was love, it could have been doable, right? Think of the facilities needed to let his beloved woman live healthily, and in a way that would satisfy Father. For example, even if it was on a small scale, it would have to be an intricate and pleasant residence, and it would probably need to have electricity, gas, and running water maintained, as well as some people to see to her needs. Even cooking would be quite difficult. She would need clothes and makeup, the daily necessities. The needs of a woman aren't simple. Would it be possible to maintain all of that without any of the family or servants noticing? When you say it that way, it sure sounds like a weak point in our theory. But that isn't enough to get rid of my feeling that Dad might have been able to do it anyway. After all, it's Dad we're talking about. That's right. It's our father. If Father wanted to succeed in an endeavor, he would succeed no matter what. Saying that something would be difficult for a normal person and therefore impossible doesn't apply when it comes to Father. Indeed, you should never underestimate Father. Father's madness can't be understood by normal people. I wouldn't put it past that, Kinzo. As long as you stick to this phrase, a considerable amount of credibility can dwell in any absurd story. However, that didn't cause the importance of what Kyrie had said to waver. This was different from stealthily raising a kitten in a cardboard box and keeping it a secret from your parents. Taking care of a person in a secret over a period of 30 years would be an incalculably massive task. After all, Father's Legend of the Gold started before he gained possession of Rakanjima. That'd mean his relationship with his mistress was over 30 years long. How old would that make her? In the worst case, she could be as old as us or older, right? By that age, the body starts to break down. I don't care what the mansion's like. I wouldn't use the word agreeable to describe living in a place where people's eyes can't reach, almost like she was under house arrest. That's right. If what Father told us about Beatrice is true, then the relationship has lasted for over 30 years. She might have been a charming young woman at the time, but it's probably makes sense to assume she's an old bag like us now. I can easily imagine that given the contents of that letter. You should talk. Kraus laughed as if none of this applied to him. Of course, Ava was offended, but she didn't strike back. Quit it, Nikki. So, if everything we're thinking's true, then she should be joining in on Dad's inheritance problem, with her head held high. After all, there's a good chance their love was mutual, unlike with Mom. Even if she knows she's his mistress, she might also be proud to be his true wife. That is an insult to Mother. Yeah, sorry. However, everyone knows that it was a political marriage decided on by the elders among his relatives. Because of that, it definitely wouldn't be strange for Dad to have a mistress. The family sank after the Great Kanto earthquake, and Father was set up as the Ushiromiya family head against his will. However, in the beginning, the elder relatives treated Kinzo like a dummy and influenced him powerfully, almost like he was a puppet. He wasn't permitted to decide anything for himself, not even his marriage partner. Ever since he met that golden witch Beatrice in those distant days, Kinzo's legend of the gold was quickly embellished into something dramatic. In other words, it could mean that Kinzo really did find a woman he loved. If she also knew the whole story, even if they weren't marriage partners, it wouldn't have been odd for her to consider herself his true wife inside his heart, in her heart, and now the person registered as his true wife was already dead. Which means she might feel confident staking her claim, not just for the rights to his assets, but regarding the battle over the headship too. I see. I'm starting to see the purpose of this letter. The headship goes to the one who solves the riddle of the epitaph. Is that what it means? Even if that mistress was added into the family ranking system, she isn't a direct relative to Father, so she'd be inferior even to the children. In other words, she'd be one step below Rosa in rank. That wouldn't be a good position to enter the battle for the headship from. I see, so that's it. If someone can solve the witch's riddle, they'll get headship regardless of rank. In other words, it's the most advantageous condition Beatrice could possibly get since she's got no chance otherwise. The revival of the Ushiromiya family was made possible by the gold Beatrice had bestowed. That was quite a distinguishing service she had provided. She had built that wealth together with Kinzo, so it was natural that she would think of herself as the one who should inherit it. It would also be natural for her to despise the thought of giving it up to the children of the wife Kinzo never loved. How could she be so impudent? Even if such a mistress actually exists, joining in on the battle for the rights of the head's inheritance would be a reckless action far above her place. What disregard for her own position. Natsui turned red, her fist quivering. She had also come into the Ushiromiya register due to complicated circumstances. Those who knew that understood more or less why she was so angry for the sake of Kinzo's dead wife. Well, thanks to that reckless action of hers, we all have an even chance now, right? Father has even given his silent approval. Will the person who succeeds the Ushiromi family be his mistress, Beatrice, or one of us, the relatives he doesn't love? Maybe he wants to make us struggle over that to see who's worthy. As Ava giggled roguishly, Kraus shrugged his shoulders and looked away. However, since she's the one who brought this rule to light in the first place, maybe that means it gives her a significant advantage. That's right. In the first place, if Beatrice meant that letter literally, then she's Father's alchemist. In other words, she's the manager of his gold. It wouldn't be strange at all if she knew where it was hidden, would it? Isn't that harsh? It's like she's giving us a riddle she knows the answer to. She'll probably show up rudely, say, "Hey, here's the answer. I'll take headship now," and snatch away everything away from us. That's right. The person who brings up a riddle always knows the answer. There's a good chance that this is all a trap to steal everything from us. If you think about it like that, don't you start to doubt whether she really had any gold in the first place? Why would she tell us all about it? All she has to do is keep it quiet and embezzle it. It really is strange. That certainly was the case. If the epitaph showed the way to the hidden gold, why would she challenge them to try and solve it? If they actually did solve it, wouldn't the gold all be stolen from her? Could it be that the person was trying to stir the siblings up so they solved the epitaph and then planned to steal away the last second? It was an extremely logical possibility. No. If you spin the chessboard around, there might be a pretty good chance that they actually do have the gold. Why are you so certain? Wait, Aneki? Kairi. Wait, Aneki. Kairi, please keep talking. Why do you think that? After all, do they really think we'll let go of the Ushiromiya family headship? just because someone tells us the answer to the riddle in the witch's epitaph? That we'll be so impressed by their answer that we'll just give up? Well, that's true. No way they're so naive they assumed we'd just give up after being told the answer to a riddle, that we'd just say, "Here you go," and hand it over. Of course, the true headship of the Ushiromi family is not something that can be handed over so easily. That's it exactly. No matter how Beatrice might one-sidedly propose a game like this, even if she were to spectacularly show us the answer, there's no way we'd obediently hand over the headship. In other words, unless she has a compelling force in the form of challenging us to a game with equal conditions for us all, this won't truly count as a game. You're right. Unless the losers have no choice but to give up on the headship because of a compelling force, this won't really count as a game. And what might be this compelling force be? Would they bind us in chains and threaten us into handing over the headship? I see. I get it. They just have to do something to make us want to give up headship willingly. Yes, I see. To do that, Beatrice would have to own 10 tons of gold. I see. I get it too. In other words, it's a trade. Huh? What do you mean? A trade. Trade what? The Ushiromi family headship for the hidden gold. Beatrice surely plans to tell us the location of the 10 tons of gold and use that as a bribe to gain the Ushiromi family headship. Ridiculous. They want to trade the headship of the glorious Ushiromi family for money? That's blasphemy. Blasphemy against the Ushiromi family. Please, listen without getting mad. About how much wealth does this glorious Ushiromi family have right now? Are we really that affluent? The definition of affluence is not dependent on property. It is about heart. Our financial situation has nothing to... Kraus interrupted Natsui as she started to go on and on emotionally. In this situation, the more she went on like that, the worse it would actually sound. Me aside, I hear your current situations are quite unfavorable. Oh, really? I've heard that your financial situation is really bad too. Offering up more and more as collateral for new money to gamble with, repeatedly dabbling in new gambles, unable to accept your losses. If we count what's going on behind the scenes, you're in even bigger financial straits than the rest of us. Just how much money have you lost, Nissan? You have no talent. But who are you saying has no talent? And what do you mean financial straits? Natsui became indignant once more, but Kraus raised his hand again and interrupted her. It seems you are making a small mistake. Business is not something that can be judged based on current progress alone. For someone with a long-term outlook on business such as myself, it may sometimes appear at a glance that I have suffered significant short-term losses. Aniki? We've been collecting evidence. Your position right now isn't one to be proud of. So, this is what Kyrie's trying to say. Every one of us has got money trouble, and Beatrice has 10 tons of gold. As the only person who knows the location of the 10 tons of gold, Beatrice is planning on using it to force us to sell the headship. About how much is 10 tons of gold worth? At a rough estimate, let's say 2 billion yen? No, 20 billion yen? With that much piled up, we'd be ecstatic to accept her as the successor. The scene returned to silence. In fact, the rain and the wind felt even noisier now. It was probably the sound of the windstorm racing through the insides of their minds. This isn't funny. To think we'd give up the headship to some woman of doubtful origin just because she had a little money stored up. Don't be stupid. The headship wasn't even yours in the first place, right? We've got nothing to lose and money to gain. We'll have to calculate our profit and loss, but it's something worth listening to. They knew that Kraus had eaten up much of what the Ushiromiya family's assets. So it was dregs that remained of that inheritance versus the cost of being accepted as the head that Beatrice would pay. It was a shame, but honestly the former was less enticing than the latter. Well, it probably wouldn't end up as 4 equal portions, since Aniki would be giving up his position as successor. His portion would have to be larger. Makes me feel kind of jealous, you know. Trying to butter him up. Dear, the amount of money isn't the problem, right? Your cowardly younger siblings are trying to sell the glory to the Ushiromiya family for money, don't you see? Why aren't you displaying your dignity as the oldest son? Natsui, stay quiet for a while. Dear? This is a dizzying proposal. We were each planning on getting 250 million yen out of Aniki. If the witch treats us with 10% of those 10 tons, that's 2 billion. Yeah. That means she's treating us with 10 times our original goal. That alone would be more than enough for us. It's not like I've got any attachment to the Ushiromiya name. I'd be happy to sell it off. Even if 10 tons is a slightly optimistic figure, yes, it'd still be a fascinating prospect for us. We were trying to form an alliance among the siblings to kick this outsider called Beatrice out. But if this is her plan, it'll tear apart the unity between us. Yeah, by this point we can state it clearly. The goal of Beatrice's letter was to disturb our alliance. If the 3 younger siblings, who never had anything to do with the inheritance, were paid enough money to satisfy them, they would happily accept Beatrice as the next head. A moat had been dug all around Kraus. In that case, the negotiations would be all one-on-one between her and Kraus. He tried to look strong, but Kraus's financial and political situation was extremely weak. He might bluff in front of his siblings, but on the inside he was considering entering negotiations, depending on the sum of money involved. In order to bury his losses, Kraus had taken advantage of the fact that Kenzo had shut himself up in the room and had embezzled Kenzo's personal assets. Therefore, when Kenzo died and the inheritance was distributed, Kraus's situation would probably be investigated. But if he gave up his seat as the head to Beatrice, she would also receive rights, assets, and as a result, the distribution of the inheritance to the siblings would not occur. In other words, Kraus's embezzlement might not have been made known to the other siblings. Of course, the siblings were frightened of Kenzo, but it was doubtful whether they still actually respected him as a father. By this time, they each had their own families, their own wealth, and their own lives. If they were paid enough money in exchange for Rakanjima, the wreckage of Kenzo's dreams, there was a significant likelihood that they'd relinquish the Ushiromiya family name. In other words, Beatrice's victory was already guaranteed in this game. Not of the winner of Beatrice's game, but of the winner of Kenzo's game. Kenzo once ordered that epitaph to be put on display, and until today, no one had solved it, so Beatrice solved it. In other words, this is less of a game and more like Beatrice's declaration of victory. However, Kairi still thought there might be a catch. If this was a declaration of victory, Beatrice would only have had to display the gold openly and state her intent to buy the inheritance. And yet she had gone to all this trouble telling the siblings to try and solve the epitaph. Why did she set up this new game where she agreed to hand over all the gold and the inheritance to the epitaph solver? Kairi tried spinning the chessboard around several times. She searched for the sort of ideal strategy Beatrice might be after, something that could lead to this kind of thinking. In the end, she reached a single conclusion: boredom. Could it be arrogance? Yeah, I mean, Beatrice considers herself God, basically, and she's super bored. So one, she's being careless in things because she thinks that no matter what, she can't lose, So what's it matter? And two, she's bored, so she's just sort of fucking around and not taking shit seriously because it's the only way she can have fun. Could it be arrogance? Or maybe she's playing? What are you talking about? The witch sent us a letter of challenge, forcing us to try and solve the epitaph. She might be taking us lightly, thinking we could never solve it. However, at the very least, there ought to be an extremely small chance that we do solve it. After all, we have here 4 father's children by blood, right? The questioner called together 4 blood relatives who, if they tried frantically to work together and avoid having those assets stolen from them, might come across the answer to the riddle by chance. The reason the witch had a superior position in negotiations compared to the siblings was that only she knew the location of the hidden gold, but if that hiding place was exposed to someone other than her, the witch's advantage would crumble. In short, Beatrice gains nothing but risk by writing the witch's letter of challenge. Of course, it might have had the effect of splitting apart the siblings' alliance. I like her face and her smile. But if that was her only goal, why would she take the risk, however slight it might be? That seems reckless to me. But if we keep in mind a certain type of emotion, that risk becomes comprehensible the way gamblers are. And you're saying it's arrogance. Yes, that's right. When people have an overwhelming advantage, they tend to get arrogant. And when they do, they want to show off that advantage to the losers. So they sometimes take on small risks. A moderate amount of risk adds a little spice to the joy of victory. It'd be boring to win without any risk. I understand. I like that kind of thing too. Yeah, I understand it well. I thought of a few plausible explanations for the true motive behind Beatrice's letter, but I think this really might be the truth. The emotion hidden behind that letter was arrogance. Arrogance. She's trying to throw her weight around, looking down on us as if there's no way we could figure out such a difficult epitaph. It might even be possible, if surprising, that the epitaph wasn't written by Father but by her. Sounds great. Solve the riddle of the epitaph, she says. If only I solved it, I would be the head, right? I'll solve it. I'll accept the witch's challenge, as if those other idiot siblings could solve it. I'll solve it by myself, and then I'll prove that I'm the one who's fit to succeed. The Ushiromiya family. I'll take that challenge. I will solve the riddle. I see. So she's not a witch, but a mistress named Beatrice who lived on the island. So there can be more than 18 people, which means I can defeat the line of reason that says any crime in Possible Row 18 must involve magic. That's a big scoop. Pardon me, Butler-sama, would you like some black tea and cook? Yay! Everyone's like, Lunar, stop being fat. I like tea though. Beato's butler, who called himself Renove, appeared out of nowhere. A plate set on a silver tray that he held was filled with delicious-looking, steaming black tea and cookies. I really don't like this guy's smile. For some reason, it doesn't look like a smile used to warmly greet a guest. It feels like he's mocking me somehow. He probably is. I don't know if he really takes me for an idiot, or if it's just a joke or something, but it's really irritating me. I don't need any. I'm busy now. Leave me alone. Oh my! Such a shame, and the cookies were so delicious too. Cooked so wonderfully they would be wasted on a mere human. Like, are they made out of humans? I'll eat some when I feel like it. Just set it down some more and get out of here. Will that be acceptable? Then I shall do so. You may eat them when they get cold and stale, and then regret to the fullest that you did not eat them while they were fresh. I think there are very many horror stories and folk tales that was like, if you eat food offered to you by demons, then you die. But as long as you don't eat the shit, you're okay. Then again, there's a lot of really weird folk tales. Like there's one like, there's two kids and they were told not to go outside, but then they go outside and then owls eat their face, and then they die. I don't know what the moral of the story is. Don't touch grass? You really are annoying. Well, you're a lot better than Beato, who keeps doing that creepy cackle right next to my ear. Yes, that is quite true. There are times when my lady's laughter becomes quite undignified. Every time I hear it, I find it painful to comprehend why such a noble demon as myself must serve such a master. Okay, can we discuss that? Like, if you want to, that is, can we discuss why that's a thing? Poo. Man, you're weird. If you don't like it, then can you just not work for her? And yet, to continue to serve is furniture's joy. If we do not serve, we would hardly be furniture. Setting that aside, how has the game been proceeding? Just now you seem to have found some useful information that quite pleased you. Well now, I wonder what your shallow wit has conjured up. As Renove mocked me and giggled, he followed my earlier words literally and placed the black tea and cookies in a random spot nearby. In any case, it appears you are now more confident in the existence of a 19th person, yes? Would you be gracious enough to allow me to hear your opinion? Yeah, sure. I'm just going to say it again in front of Beato anyway. No reason to hide it. Basically, it looks like there's a hidden mansion somewhere on this island, and that grandfather's had his mistress living there. So the question that's been torturing me about whether there are 18 or 19 people can be easily resolved. You have driven yourself into a corner because of the dead end that you yourself have created. Even though you deny the witch, Battler-sama, you hold a double standard and refuse to accept that the culprit is one of the 18. The easiest way to deny the witch would be to suspect one of the 18. It isn't easy to gather alibis for every one of them. You always find at least one person with a fragile alibi. You gotta say fragile or fragile? Either or either. I could probably continue to deny the witch forever if I just used that person as a scapegoat. However, I refuse to do that. It's useless. It's all useless. I mean, unless they actually are guilty, but I don't want to do that unless it's actually true. Every one of those 18 people is either a parent, a relative, or a cousin to me. And those reliable servants who are sometimes serious and sometimes fun to be with. I won't let myself use any one of them as a scapegoat. In the past, my resolve wavered. That's how Beato hit me where my heart was weak. Accepting and understanding one's own weaknesses. It is not something that can often be accomplished. Battler-sama, you use this theory about a 19th person as a spear, or should I say, a shield. In any event, in contrast to how unprepared you were in the previous games, the fact that you now have a compass bearing on how to fight is a dramatic leap forward, let us say. With this, you can suspect a 19th person and pursue your theory that the culprit is a human. Why do I feel like you secretly want me to win because it would get you your freedom from Beatrice? Without having to doubt any of the 18 you love and respect. That's it exactly. Like in the first game, when Canon-kun was killed in the boiler room. There were plenty of tricks I could have mentioned without hesitation as long as the 19th person existed. In the very first game, Canon-kun was killed in the boiler room. One might think he was attacked by Kumasawa-san, who had gone down into the boiler room with him, or maybe that someone who had appeared to be dead earlier was actually faking and had ambushed him. Either way, it was a move that forced me to suspect one of the 18. However, by simply proposing that a 19th person existed, there was no longer any need to suspect one of the 18 from the murder in that boiler room. In short,
I can at least deny the line of reasoning saying that if something is impossible for every one of the 18, therefore the culprit is a witch. Using this argument, it's easy to explain, for example, the problematic case that has already occurred in this game. Who gave Maria the letter? Even if all 18 people have alibis, I could easily explain everything by saying the 19th person must have visited her and given her the letter. I'd say that's quite a good move. Now, how would I strike back against it? You still have plenty of weak points, even if you weren't aware of them. Maybe the 18th person attack would be an effective move. To judge the strength of your defense, it may be amusing to contest that point again. Then how will you do it? Demon Butler? What if he was a Neko Butler? I believe it would be appropriate to ambush the piece representing the 19th person you mentioned. Battler-sama, you have never met this 19th person, yes? Would you please show some proof that this 19th person exists? How naive. Of course I knew you'd probably try that move. My, please respond to it. Witches and demons and the like, there's no more fitting move for you guys to use. It's one of those devil's proofs. Dun dun dun. When you try to make someone claim humans like us, we always counterattack by telling you to show us some proof, because that's a human move. But I'm fighting with a witch. I'm taking part in a battle with someone who isn't human, and some moves exist that can only be used in a game against a witch. They are cheat moves, and that's what this devil's proof is, because it's impossible to prove. Let's assume that there's a hidden mansion on Rokkenjima separate from Ushiromiya Family Mansion, and that a woman named Beatrice lives there. In order to prove this, one must find this mansion and actually bring Beatrice out of it. That's called actual proof in the human world. However, if we follow the rules of the devil's proof, you can't deny that she exists even if there's no proof that she does. Because it's impossible to prove that something doesn't exist. That's right, I'm finally able to turn the tables using this devil's proof, which tormented me so much before. Those guys were always trying to force me to accept the existence of the witch with it. After all, it was physically impossible for me to show any proof that witches don't exist and deny Beato's claims. That's why I kept getting hit with reckless argument that witches do exist and was unable to counterattack. And that's why I'll spin the chessboard around right now. If I can't disprove the existence of witches, then that means if I suggest that a 19th human exists, you can't deny that either. In other words, because this problematic, mysterious mistress is craftily hiding herself, it'd be perfectly natural if you never found her no matter how hard you looked. So, you can't say that your inability to find the 19th person proves that she doesn't exist. Therefore, it's impossible to deny the 19th person's existence. Beato used the devil's proof to make denying her own existence impossible, but this time it's become my weapon. If we can get away with this argument, then forget just the 19th person. This island could be full of people we don't know about. And even if there were 10 or 100 of them, she still couldn't deny that they existed. In the last game, and the one before that, among the murder scenes that showed up, there were several that were extremely intricate and must have taken a lot of effort to set up. It's really hard to imagine a single culprit setting up all of those. However, if it's not just 19th person, but 10 or 100 people were hidden somewhere, that wouldn't be any problem at all. If they all split up the work, they could easily handle any job in a short amount of time. Of course, doubts will naturally arise as to whether a large group of people like that could sneak around the mansion without being noticed. But those are all settled by devil's proofs. You can't deny that even 100 people were just because they weren't seen or noticed. Even though I'm saying it myself, it's such a stupid argument that it makes me want to throw up. However, because it's such a dirty move, it's a perfect one to use against a witch. Well, this is just my imagination, but what if about 100 suspicious men wearing goat masks were hiding in the shadows? Something like that's worse than laughable, almost like they're cockroaches. If you see one, it means there's 100 more hiding somewhere. Well, I do think it's a ridiculous argument that's horribly twisted. If my opponent were human, I'm sure they'd yell at me like I was out of my mind. But my opponent is a witch, and after all, that's the kind of competition we're having, isn't it? And again, like I said, one, it's not just an issue of denying the existence of magic. We can just say, okay, we believe in magic, but if we can at least prove that everything you're doing with magic can be done without magic, well, we then remove the specialness of magic. It's like, look at me, I can make a fireball. And look at me, I'm holding a Zippo lighter. I can also make fire.
I'll use any kind of reckless argument to explain it using humans and deny the witch. Anyway, with this move, I won't have to doubt any of the 18 who are close to me again. I won't suffer a defeat like last time again. I see. You have learned from your previous defeat. That is good. It's no surprise you've become so devious now that you're in your third game. Your first, strengthen your own defense. That is a truly solid step. Quite a spectacular move, I would say. Well, even if we do assume that there's a 19th person, there's still a few tricks left that I can't resolve, like the actual number of master keys, no matter how many humans I add. Still, it isn't bad as a first step for the time being. Battler-sama, your trump card is the important piece called the 19th person. You countered my move of asking where the proof was by using the devil's proof. A good skirmish. Although I must apologize for making a move by myself when my lady isn't here. I find that I too am growing slightly interested. I wonder if you will allow me to make yet another move on my lady's behalf. Let's have it. I've got no shortage of opponents, be they witches or demons. This move you presented called the Devil's Proof. It's a specialty of us demons, but there are also various other moves available to us. Do you know of a move called Hempel's Raven? Hempel's Raven? What are you talking about? Okay. Just then, the enraging laugh I've heard so many times started echoing. The room was filled with dazzling golden butterflies, and in the center of that whirlwind the golden bitch appeared. If it isn't milady. Good morning! I thought you might be doing something interesting while I was away. Hempel's Raven, was it? Such a familiar old move I could almost laugh. To think the day has come when I get to show it off to Battler. It's a classic move to use against a Devil's Proof. Renove, I will make this move. Do not get in the way of my fun. Did he grimace for a second? Like, I didn't really get to see it because the scene transitioned really quick, but I feel like Renove, the man whose name I'm horribly butchering, made a grimace, sad, frowny, pain face for like a millisecond, and then, we're looking at Battler now. So you've finally shown up, you guffawing witch. I see you're laughing like a freak just as usual. This guy was talking behind your back just now. Tell me how undignified you look when you do that, right? How rude. Is that true? Nonsense. Why would I speak such gossip about my lady, whom I regard with such sincere respect? I can't believe you'd say something so shameless. Doesn't look like we'll be getting along well together. Well, that is fine. Let us return to the point at hand. Hempel's Raven is used to show actual proof using the contrapositive. I am not familiar with how this was going to turn out, but I'm sure we'll find out. In other words, it is a move like this. What must you do to prove that ravens are black? Huh? What are you talking about? Prove that ravens are black? Wouldn't you just have to catch a raven and check to see if it's black? That's right. You must simply prove that a raven equals black. Do you see that? If you instead prove that birds that aren't black equal not ravens, you would reach the same argument. If you go throughout the world and examine all birds that are not ravens and prove that none of them are black, then as a result you can claim, therefore, black birds are ravens. This is called an argument by contrapositive. Is that too difficult for you? Yeah, no kidding. I've got no idea what you're saying. Battler-sama, what about this example? Let us say that you have two boxes, and one of them is a winner with a cookie inside. Of course, the other one is a loser and is empty. For example, here are two boxes. Where one has a cookie inside, it means you win. The other is empty and means you lose. At this moment, it has a cookie inside equals you win, which implies that you do not win, it has no cookie inside. When such a relationship exists, the latter is called the contrapositive. If A then is B is true, then if not B, then A not A is also true. Well, that's obvious. If the one you guessed was the loser, then you would automatically know that the other was the winner. In other words, if you choose the box at random, whether it's the winner or loser, you'll be able to figure out which box has the cookie in it after your first move. That is correct. If the cookie is in the box you open, then the devil's proof is satisfied. You can directly prove that this box is the winner, equals this box has cookie in it. However, the box you open is empty, then the reverse Hempel's Raven is satisfied. In other words, this box does not have a cookie in it. This box isn't the winner. And as long as we accept the premise that there are no more than 2 boxes, the contrapositive shows that the other box is automatically the winner. Well, I think I'm starting to see a reasoning. Only poison can stop poison, and only twisted logic can stop twisted logic. Then what? How does that overturn my claim because there's definitely a 19th person human hidden on this island? Even if all 18 people have alibis, I still won't have to accept witches. Very well, I will teach you about my move. First of all, you are stating the culprit is not among the 18 equals the culprit is the 19th person. So if you use the contrapositive, it ends up like this. The culprit is not a 19th person, the culprit is one of the 18. Huh? What do you mean? Only that I've countered your move. Let's try and keep things simple. Renove, explain. It seems you've made things easy enough for Battler to understand your cookie in a box analogy. Then forgive my presumption. I am lunar and I am fat. Allow me to explain my earlier example once more. Allow me to repeat my earlier story about 2 treasure boxes, one of which has a cookie in it. In this situation, you have an 18-person box and a 19th person box, so the cookie represents the culprit. Battler-sama, let's say you open the 18-person box. Because the cookie is not there, you have paradoxically proven that therefore the cookie is in the 19th person box. Then let us make an even more paradoxical claim. In other words, if it was first shown that the 19th person box was empty, it would prove at the same time that the cookie is in the 18-person box. Battler-sama played this move in order to avoid having to doubt one of the 18, but it's now been used to prepare an 18-person attack. What the hell? Cackle. If I go first and prove that the inside of the 19th person box is empty, you will automatically have to accept the cookie is in the 18-person box. All I've done is say that the other way around, yes? So, the move I was so confident in was actually a double-edged sword. That's right. As soon as you played that move and attempted to explain everything with the 19th person, you'd already taken on a risk that you might be forced to accept that the culprit was one of the 18. I see. Hempel's Raven. So, this is a countering logic technique. Wait, if I really think about it, this counter is really disadvantageous for me. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of just like, there's lots of types of circular logic that are used in TV tropes. Heck, even just like fridge horror. Maybe at some point I should, just sit and just read some TV tropes. This isn't a cookie we're talking about. If I imagine the loser chest actually has a bomb in it, it gets even clearer. And there aren't just 2 treasure chests, but 18 plus 1 more for the 19th person. If you think of it as a total of 19 boxes, it gets even easier to picture. First off, one of the premises of the human culprit theory is that the bomb will definitely be in one of these boxes. I didn't want to place the bomb in the boxes for any of the 18, so I used the devil's proof. And the created the 19th person box, so I put the bomb in there. That much was fine. But then Beato struck back that if you don't find the box in that 19th box, then it has to be one of the other boxes. Now that the contents of the 19th person box is empty, that'll automatically mean the bomb is in one of the other 18 boxes. If I could examine what's inside all 18 other boxes, then as long as I get to show that the bomb isn't in any of them, I'll be able to safely show that the 18 people are innocent. If that were possible, I'd have nothing to fear. However, in reality, that'd be almost absolutely impossible. The police wouldn't come here in this typhoon. We don't have access to scientific investigations or experts or anything. And in short, we can't prove anything decisively. It'll be impossible for me to find any proof other than simply gulping down whatever alibis each of the 18 give. That means I personally have to prove their innocence, and I have to do it perfectly, like by staying with them the whole time, never letting them out of my sight for a second, By doing that, I could probably be sure of that person's innocence. Sure, that bomb isn't in their box. However, in practical terms, that'd be impossible. In other words, I have to expend an incredible amount of effort just to check the contents of one box. And there are 18 of them. In other words, unless I bound all 18 of them in chains and watch over them, it'll be impossible to prove that all of them have empty boxes. It's like, hey, what are you doing? I have now taken everyone. Well, I mean, technically he's saying this wrong. He's like, I gotta find all 18 boxes, but I mean, you're one of the boxes, Battler. So unless you think you could possibly be the culprit, you don't need to check your box. But yeah, we'll just chain everyone up and we'll just like all watch Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. However, Beato only has to open one box, the 19th person box, and show that it's empty to prove that the bomb is in one of the other 18 boxes. Furthermore, there's no need for her to show the which of the 18 boxes has the bomb. I've got 18 more to work with, 18 times more work to do to explain my pet theory than Beatrice does for hers. When a devil's proof exists in the world, it takes a vast amount of effort to argue against it, and there are many cases which is impossible to do because of the situation. However, Hempel's Raven turns that problem around and makes it impossible to prove things easy. By using Hempel's Raven, various reckless arguments become possible to prove true or false. For example, let us say I make the proposition all humans except me equal foolish. Normally, I would have to examine all of humanity except myself and show that they are all foolish. However, in reality, it would be impossible to investigate billions of people. It's just the same sort of effort you'd need to open all 18 boxes. However, by using Hempel's Raven, the contrapositive of that proposition would change into this. If you, to use your phrase, spin the chessboard around on the claim that all humans except me equals foolish, you would have to do nothing more than not foolish equals me. And what do you think that means? Cackle. As soon as I know the fact that I am wise, I will be able to show in an instant that every one of the billions of people in the human race is foolish. In less than a second, I could finish proving that the entire human race is more foolish than me. It truly is the strongest and fastest QED in the world. This is Hempel's Raven. What a ridiculous argument. It is a very, very convenient move. Not only demons, but gods also use it, when they propose that the blessed equals the servants of a god. The contrapositive is a human is not a servant of God. He must not be blessed. So in other words, to prove that servants of God are blessed of divine protection, they only have to bring ill fortune down upon those who don't receive such protection. So by bringing misfortune down upon those who don't believe in them, they prove their blessedness. An enormous cost is required to give humans happiness. However, it takes a lot less to bring humans misfortune. I don't think it's that hard to make humans happy. I just think the world's kind of a jerk. So by using Hempel's Raven, gods are actually giving believers the joy of divine protection for cheap. You demon. It's a demon's argument. That's crazy. It seems we've gone off topic. Let us get back to the point. The move for my counterattack is complete, and now in response, your claim that the 19th person is the culprit, therefore the 18 are innocent, and the witch doesn't exist. I say, therefore, if I can prove the culprit is not some 19th person, we can be sure that the culprit is either one of the 18 or a witch, right? Are we gonna, like, find a dead Beatrice? Like, what's gonna happen here? For a while, I just stood there shocked, completely forgetting to close my mouth. Just when, if it helps you breathe, I guess. Just when I thought I'd counter one of the strong points, their counterattack had been this reckless argument that I couldn't possibly have anticipated. Is this going to be impossible after all? To continue denying the witch on an island with no more than 18 people and still believe in the innocence of those 18 people, is that just a delusion? Am I just trying to escape reality? Okay, I need to go to bed. I am enjoying the story. No. What do you mean, not yet? I am going to bed. Not yet, my ass. I am sleepy. Anyway, later, guys. Bye.